Finance Committee, January 18th, 2024.
Call the Finance Committee meeting to order at 6 p.m. Members present are James Me, Chris Mauritz, Vicki Dishon, and Kevin Myers, myself as chair. The first item is public participation. Is there any public participation for the Finance Committee? If so, please come to the podium, give us your name and address.
Carolyn Shireman, 1065 Eastville Avenue. When I asked for citizens' votes, I told them I would be their voice. I hear their voice, and I think we as council and administration owe it to the citizens what was left to us from the last administration. Mayor Reeser and his administration left us in an awful financial mess. The monies were being spent foolishly and as fast as they could spend it. In other words, the city is in the red. There is very little money. We have to do something. I'm asking the citizens to be patient with us as we figure what to do and how to do it. I encourage the citizens to go to the auditor's office and ask her to show them the figures we have to play with. I want the citizens to know that we are not the bad guys. The bad guys left this for us. Please work with us. Come to council to air your concerns and your questions. We can only give you the truth and the facts. Just remember that we are your voice. I am asking the citizens to be our voice now. Thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn. I appreciate what you said about asking people to be patient with us because we got a tough job ahead of us.
I know that, though.
I know. And the one point I would like to clarify, we're not in the red. We're trying not to go in the red. So we're headed that way, though, if we don't do something. Any other public participation? Seeing none, we'll move on. We have approval of minutes. Now, I noticed, Miranda, a couple of these, like Terry signed some of them, but not all of them. Was that just an oversight, or? The first one on here is not signed by him. I'm wondering if that was an oversight or if he had an issue with it that you know of.
Probably an oversight.
Okay. So as requested in each of the committees, the previous committee members from the previous council affixed their signatures to these. We still need a vote then to approve these minutes. I'll either entertain a motion to do them all three collectively or one at a time.
I move to collectively approve the December 21st, 2023 regular Finance Committee meeting minutes, the December 28th, 2023 special Finance Committee meeting minutes, and the January 4th, 2024 regular Finance Committee meeting minutes.
I have a motion from Mrs. Dishon approving the December 21st regular Finance Committee, the December 28th special Finance Committee, and the January 4th, 2024 regular Finance Committee meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mauritz. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
A motion passes. Thank you. Next up, we have the April 8th, 2024 solar eclipse. And I'm not sure who requested that be referred, but does anybody have anything that they wish to speak on that this evening?
Yes, I went ahead and had the solar eclipse referred. There's a lot of communities around Crawford County that are being a part of the solar eclipse. We're going to be on I think the southeastern part of the ribbon that's going from southwest to northeast, and Wyandotte County then is kind of more or less on the north side of the ribbon. There's a lot of concerns that we have to look forward to. There's going to be a great influx of people coming to this area to witness the eclipse. From my understanding, the fairgrounds has already rented out the spots. I think don't quote me, but I have the understanding that most of the spots are rented already at the fairgrounds for electrical hookups. So that people camping, yes. We are going to be meeting with Jet
Kander at the EMA.
Yeah.
And that's
Monday.
And what else?
just want everybody to be aware of it, that there's a lot more to come on it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to be able to see us be prepared for the influx of people. Some of the people that we've talked to said that maybe we should hurry up and rent porta pots and make sure that there's plenty of sanitation made available for all these people that are coming here. Get like food trucks, maybe see if we could line up some type of vendors, local people, you know, like your band groups and Winford and Carl Crawford and Bucyrus, you know, for somehow to help feed the influx of people coming. So I just want to be able to open it up to you so you guys can have a discussion about it.
I heard some of the towns were actually calling in vendors and shutting the town down and calling porta pots in and all that, so. What do you think, Chris?
That might be an idea, but most vendors usually have their stuff booked already. I don't know how well it is in April, they have it booked, but.
And that's kind of where I was at with the vendors. You're gonna be hit and miss. The ones that we deal with for the Browers Festival, they have their routes for the entire year already planned out, and most of them are somewhere else already for that time. But doesn't hurt to ask. It's a matter of having a plan to know what we're looking at. If you have a question, podium, name and address, please.
Erin Sharrock, 1485 Oak Ridge Drive, Bucyrus, Ohio. Vendors, most of them do not have things in early April. So unless they've been hit for something like this, the first festival is at the end of April. So
A lot of the ones I've talked to already have stuff booked.
because I know vendors.
Yeah, I know you
Just
do.
like you do. But yeah, a lot of them do not have anything in early April. The ones that have been booked are the ones that booked for things like this, so we may still be able to get people.
Yeah, I like what the administration says, that they're working with the EMA, and I think a couple of us can continue having conversations with them to try to nail some plans, so I'll count on you to be part of those conversations.
Oh, thanks.
That's called voluntold, ma'am.
Voluntold.
I know.
There's your next volunteer.
Yep.
Right that off, 210 Ethel Street. Who gets the revenue from the campsites being rented out at the,
At the
Fairgrounds.
fairgrounds, the fair board.
and who's paying for porta pots if we get porta pots?
If we get them, that remains to be seen. We haven't had any plans yet. That's part of what they're gonna look at.
Well, my next thing was if we're gonna pay for porta pots, are we getting any revenue from that? Or are we just blowing money on porta
I think
pots?
that's all to be seen yet.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, without getting too far ahead of ourselves, if we were able to book some food vendors to bring them in, I think we could charge a fee to them to
So
offset
I'm thinking
the
if we
cost
put
of
money
it.
out there for porta pots and such, we should be getting something back.
Are you talking about the fairgrounds?
Anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, the fairgrounds is independent of us. That's gonna
Right.
be run by the fair board. But
So
if we
we're not
wanna do
putting-
something downtown at the art park or on the side streets
So
or
you're talking
or
porta
wherever.
pots for downtown Bucyrus?
Yeah, I think that was what the question was people are asking, you know, if we're expecting the population of our town to double for this event, you know, is everybody gonna be running to Speedway and McDonald's to go to the
Right.
bathroom, or are we gonna try to provide, you know, some other alternatives? I think a lot of that remains to be seen
I was
yet.
thinking we were gonna put them at the fairgrounds. That's not a.
No, we're not gonna do that, I
Okay.
would say.
Fairgrounds have their own,
They've got their own
That's what I was gonna
facilities.
say. Okay, thank you.
we're good.
Yes, thanks, Ray.
The fairgrounds is good.
Greg White, 1125 Hillcrest Drive. You guys are behind the eight ball already. This planning commission for this Eclipse 2024 has been in session since early 2023. You're going to be hard pressed to find vendors because a lot of vendors in Columbus have already committed to certain places along the Eclipse line. If you've been reading the notes coming out of the EMA and the Health Department and the group that's been meeting for over a year now on this, and no disrespect to anybody here, but this has been something that's been left behind that you guys didn't know about. But this planning has been going on for over a year now, that they're expecting probably close to over 100,000 people coming into Crawford County or more, okay? Like I said, the line was drawn along a year ago. It's been however you want to say it, redefined. Most of these vendors coming out from out of states or coming into Pacific areas. if you've read some information that Galleon is really big on this, they're having a lot of things. The Fair Board's getting on board now because they want to round out stuff, but we're not going to just double in population. We could probably see an influx of 100 to 250,000 people in Crawford County for that 3-day event. I mean, I've already heard that some of the hotels are already booked already, and that they're trying to bring in food vendors into their parking lots to keep people happy and stuff because of, and I know the State Highway Patrol is involved and pretty much sheriff and everybody, but this is, like I said, this planning has been going on for over a year now. And it's been posted too, how details have been going on about it and stuff like that. So hopefully, if you need some help, I'd be willing to help volunteer to, move stuff along or whatever. But you guys are going to be pushing the limit. I'm going to tell you that right now, being behind. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. White. Just to clarify, our administration did just inform us that they're brand new in office, and they're getting moving on this, so they're doing everything they can. So I think we need to say thank you to them rather than tell them they're behind the 8 ball. Any other public participation?
This is one of 100 things we've been handed to. So.
Yeah. Welcome. Next item is reductions to the budget.
So when we passed the budget, a couple payments and things came out at the end of the year, which reduced our budget in certain areas. So to correct, we made a large payment to, can't remember off the top of my head now, but I just had to correct it. So I need to reduce the Muni Fund Muni MV license capital outlay line by $407,344. I need to reduce the Northwest Storm Sewer Stormwater Utility item line contractual services by $78,083.77. Reduce the airport grant waterworks. I messed that up. Sorry, guys. Department 7620 item line 25 capital outlay by $2,577.65. I need to reduce the fire levy fund under fire department capital outlay by $8,229.45. And I need to reduce Fund 406 Theater Demolition Art Park under lands and buildings capital outlay by $1,374.21.
All right, so we need a motion for those reductions stated by the auditor. Ma'am?
Is there any way you could, like, from now on, supply us with what you read so that we have that in front of us?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could do that. Sorry.
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, it was in the packet? Okay, then.
Sorry, I got a tour a little late, so I wasn't sure.
When I printed,
Very last
Very
page.
last page.
okay, then I guess when I printed, I didn't print that. Okay, thank you.
I'm getting there.
Was this on our committee packets?
Yeah.
Yep, right here.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Okay, so we're looking for a reduction of $407,344 in Fund 205, line 7612, line 25. We're looking for a reduction of $78,083.77 out of Fund 262, Stormwater Utility Contractual Services. We're looking for a reduction of $2,577.65 out of the airport grant capital outlay. We are looking for a reduction of $8,229.45 out of Fund 403, the fire levy, fire department capital outlay, and a reduction of $1,374.21 out of the lands and buildings capital outlay in Fund 406. Seeking a motion
So moved,
as an emergency.
as an emergency.
I have a motion from Mr. Me, and a second by Mr. Mauritz. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. Next is transfers regarding the Waterworks Fund.
So there was a miscommunication about the budget here. What I need to do is transfer money from Waterworks water filtration under the personal services line for $40,000 and transfer it to Waterworks filtration under the contractual services line.
All right, so in Fund 701 Waterworks, line 7522, the Waterworks filtration, we're seeking to transfer $40,000 out of line 21, which is personal services, and transfer that into line 23, which is contractual services. Seeking a motion for that as an emergency.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Me,
Second.
second by Mr. Mauritz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. That motion carries. Next up is airport runway lights.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
That was referred also to the service.
Yes.
So
Well,
service,
actually, it's two different things. Runway lights and then, shoot, what is that?
Terminal
Airport projects. I was assuming that was two different things.
well, no, under service, it says airport runway lights, and under finance, it says airport runway lights.
Mine doesn't say that. Mine just says airport service. Or projects, excuse me.
Are you looking at the open projects list?
Yes.
You don't want to look at that, you want to look at your agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, they are on both, and typically the service committee would handle that first,
Right.
and then finance would follow up.
And you're going to have the same with the Crawford Partnership.
Yep.
Gotcha. Why don't you bring it up since you're bringing it up now?
No, I think finance should meet last going forward to make sure that,
It was requested to be first.
okay. Well, there's nothing we can do about it until the other committees do anything, so that'll put us off a couple of weeks until finance can approve anything.
Unless you don't adjourn and you just put the rest of the meeting on holding like we did.
We can do that. We'll table those two items and we will not adjourn and allow other committees to meet. Does that fit within the scope of the law, Mr. Gerner?
Yeah, you can take a recess.
All right, we'll do that. I think then at this point, let's recess this committee and take care of the other business.
Option would be to pass them contingent upon approval by service committee.
Say that one more time.
Your other option would be to pass them contingent upon approval of service committee of the overall project.
I'd rather wait and let
Yes.
them discuss it and then we can reconvene. So we will not adjourn. We'll take a recess of the finance committee to reconvene at the conclusion of the rest of the regular committees. So we will do that at 6:18 p.m.
Service Committee, January 18th, 2024.
Call to order at 16:19 or 16:21?
6:21.
1821.
So 6:21.
6:21.
Yep.
Roll call.
You do that.
Oh, I do that?
Yep.
Okay. Zion Hickman,
Here.
Kevin Myers,
Yeah.
Aaron Sharrock.
Yeah.
And you just state who's all here.
Yeah,
So you
you-
can state
you
yourself.
can just say,
For the record.
these people are here for the record.
For the record, Zion Hickman, Kevin Myers, and Aaron Sharrock are here.
And yourself, Chair.
And myself.
Yep.
Public participation.
Greg White, 1125 Hillcrest Drive. It has been on the open project list since September of 2022 of ordinance number 29-2006, which is the water bills, deposits, penalties, and also verbiage and language of this ordinance. And talking to some other people, we would like, or I would like to, for open discussion, transparency, that we open up a public forum on this ordinance because it was passed in 2020, 2026. This is 2023. When I read this over, there's a lot of things that I don't think have been updated. Fee structures, I'm sure that some of the fee structures in here, that if a city employee has to go out at night or on a weekend or a Sunday or a legal holiday, that $75 is going to cover the incomplete cost to have him go out and shut someone's water off or turn someone's water on. I think that's, a lot of these figures in there are low, and I would like to get some more facts on this. The other thing too, that I know there is a bill down at the State House that is trying to relinquish owners from water bills. I don't think we should wait on that. The reason why is, what if it doesn't pass? What if it does go through? What if the governor vetoes it? Nobody knows. But we're allowed as a city to make rules and adjustments to our codes and ordinances. Some of the things in here is where it states that the tenant and property owner are responsible for the water bill. Okay? I disagree with that 100%. And like I said, I would like this committee to, and the other thing I want to bring up too is approve an accessible water meters. I bet you that price change has changed a lot too since 2006. So I would like to see that this committee open up a discussion with transparency for people to be involved and talk about what changes that could be submitted to council for changing the verbiage, language, cost, fees, and structures of this ordinance. Thank you. Go ahead.
Vicki Dishon, 1108 Hillcrest Drive. At the council meeting, this past council meeting, President Fankhauser had asked Mr. Long if he wanted to refer to committee the discussion on utility deposits. And if I understand correctly, Mr. Long indicated not Tuesday night, we would talk about it Thursday. At Tuesday's meeting, Mr. Fankhauser was told it was in committee. Mr. Mauritz confirmed that it was referred on 9/8/22, and I do believe, Mr. White, this is the one that you're referring to. Okay, I did some checking. Tuesday night, Mr. Fankhauser said that we could discuss the deposit matter on Thursday, meaning tonight. The referral was done on September the 8th, 22, at a rescheduled council meeting, but it was for landlord utility billing, not utility deposits. And what that had to do with was Mr. Gary Harris, who had been given a large bill to pay for his tenant because the water had been allowed to stay on, which it was during the COVID period, and water was not allowed to be shut off. So what was referred on 9/8/22 was landlord utility billing, not deposits. They're two different things. There's two different sections if you look in the codified ordinance section. The matter was discussed on September the 8th, September 22nd, October 6th, and then, that is of 22, and then the matter was closed at the October 6th, 22 meeting, according to their council minutes, or their committee minutes. So my question is, I don't think the utility deposits can be talked about because they haven't been referred to committee.
You requested it at your first meeting. No, I requested sewer deposits.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I believe the matter of the utility deposit needs to be referred at the next council meeting to the service committee. like I say, I'm not trying to be difficult. We just want to make sure that we're following the proper procedure. And that's where, if you'll remember, I indicated on Tuesday, these open project lists, I think they need to be a little more specific to just say, and Dora was one that we had referenced, to just say Dora. Well, there's a lot of different things with Dora. There's the Dora application. And if you're specific and put on here what it deals with, just like if, Mr. Harris's name had been put behind, we would know that that referral had to do with his issue, which again is entirely a different issue than the deposits. Thank you.
Dumpster rate, Jimmy, 873 West Perry Street. Dumpster rates are on the agenda for tonight. I had done some checking per yard with Rimke's and compared them to ours. Rimke's are averaged are about $20 per yard, and Bucyrus is averaging $5 per yard. I'd like to see that at least doubled, and we're still way underneath them. So that was the reason I had dumpsters put on for tonight.
Mr. Chair. Question either for the mayor or the law director on the dumpster rates. Is there a reason why, and I know that you were on council probably when this was enacted, why does council set the dumpster rates and not just allow the utility department to set those?
For as long as I can remember, it's always been in the service, because the services actually does the garbage rates as well. Okay. Not only dumpster rates, but garbage rates, and then it allows the service to actually go ahead and put a replacement fund on to, as an additional way of, foreseeing the future, to be able to put money back besides in another fund so we could replace the garbage truck over a period of time. So I mean, as far as sewer rate, as far as garbage and dumpsters and garbage packer replacements.
Yeah. That makes sense on the garbage rates, but on the dumpster rates themselves, do you feel that needs to be left as a council function?
I believe so.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
It was also, it was up to us the service committee was up to us or the service, not whatever. But at any rate, we could actually go out and keep track of the dumpsters as a service committee. We could see to it that the dumpsters were fixed in a timely fashion, as well as maybe purchasing new dumpsters, and so that was always in the service committee as well.
Well, while we're staying on this, we might as well stick with this one right now then, right? Talk about dumpster rates. We want to.
Well,
You gotta finish public participation.
We're still in public participation, right?
See, Jim.
Still new. Any more public participation?
Ken Long, 625 South Spring Street. I guess first of all, I'd like to thank Vicki Dishon for her diligence and finding out about that ordinance from 2022. So we're hopefully going down the right road. I want to echo what Mr. White said as far as some issues with water, and obviously this isn't the place for that. So I also agree that we should do some kind of public forum, because there's more issues than just deposits, landlords being responsible for water. I could go on for 20 minutes. Okay, that's not appropriate for what we're doing here tonight. But there's obviously more issues than just, for example, Gary Harris's bill from 2 years ago. So it's more than one thing. Just like we were just talking about garbage trucks and garbage and all that. I will shift gears just for a second. I've within the last 3 months, I've ran a dumpster, and I called 15 different vendors in and around this area. Had all kinds of prices. Rumpke was one of the higher ones, and I end up settling with very happy to rent a dumpster from Danner's. Got a 30-yard for $400, and they're very cooperative as far as how much time. Some places, it's 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, they start charging extra. If you add extra weight, yada, yada. And so when you're looking at the dumpster rates for the city, you may want to check with them because they're going to be low tide compared to Rumpke is probably high tide, and then everybody else falls in the middle. So I guess I'm sorry, didn't mean to bounce around. I didn't want to forget that though. As far as water issues, what is the best way, or what discussion can we have to find out how we can put people in a room and try to work through, I'm going to say probably 6 or 7 different items related to water?
We could schedule a public meeting for that purpose. We could also schedule a special committee meeting of this committee to only address that. You can go either route with that and that.
I'd appreciate either one. I'm trying to get people in a room and try to work this thing out for everybody concerned.
So I think I want to try to have a special meeting for this. for the
Let's
water.
wait until it gets referred.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Can't do anything
So when it
till
gets referred at the next council meeting, we
Oh,
could
there you
discuss a meeting date at that time.
Okay, very good. So would I come back, or will you guys just roll with it?
We'll ask Miranda to put that on the list of referrals so that it'll get referred, and then we can schedule. But if you want to
Okay.
be here to participate in the discussion when the meeting might be, absolutely.
Sure.
If not,
All right.
then
Thank you so
we'll
much.
get with you. Yeah.
Jimmy, 73 West Perry. So Danner's, by what he said, is about $13.50. And if we double our rates, we're still under them, so.
Motion to approve the minutes from December 20.
I will make a motion to collectively approve the minutes from December 21st, 2023, and January 4th, 2024, that have been, because they've been signed by the members of the past council. So that was a first by Sharrock and a second by...
First by Sharrock,
Hickman.
second by Zion Hickman.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye. Good job.
I'll get it down.
You will.
It doesn't take that long, I promise.
April 8th, 2024, solar eclipse. We want to have any more discussion on that?
I'm confident that the administration is doing everything they can at this point, and
I
can keep us updated.
I will say, I know that when we were at the Ohio Municipal League, some of the places we're talking about just renting out parking spaces on the main drag. They weren't supplying them with electric or anything, just, if they had a camper, they were just coming for that day and wanted to rent out a space. Some of the places were talking about doing things like that. So I didn't know if that's something you guys would want to look into as well when you're talking to the emergency group. I mean, because they might be like, hey, we've got these people saying they're just coming straight through. Might be a good thing to look into.
Would that be stepping on the
No, because the other is hooking up and staying for like
Hooking up and
the
staying,
weekend.
right.
This is just, the people who are, but Bruce.
Bruce?
May I ask Brian a question
Yes.
about that? Yes. Being that the administration was invited to this meeting at the county level, how many people would be allowed to? Would there be a possibility that a couple of the council people would be allowed to attend this meeting that we are attending as an administration? Because the more heads that are in there, the better it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could bring 5 people.
Okay, well, you guys will have to put that together yourselves.
Well, if you know when the meeting is, email us all and invite everybody.
So for like, and I guess your question is about sunshine law and those things.
Right.
Like, so for information gathering purposes, a collection of council is allowed to gather as long as they're not discussing and deliberating, but just for purely information gathering purposes, those meetings are okay.
When is it?
I don't remember, but it's here. It's with
You
the
just
fire
email her.
department and the EMA.
Just email everybody.
The countywide one is going to be before ours, and we're not going to that one, just our fire and and police are going to that one. But they're coming here after that.
Open up 2 material bids.
And I can't remember what day it is.
I don't know if everybody heard.
I think it's the 29th, but, oh, I got technology still. I forgot about that. I think I used it earlier today.
What Tommy just, I don't know if everybody heard, but what Tommy just said, the county is going to have a meeting prior to the city's meeting. So, but we as a city are going to meet at this meeting that we're inviting you to.
Yeah, it's the 22nd at 11 o'clock here.
Yeah, to your question, so courts have determined gathering strictly of an investigative and information-seeking nature do not involved in actual discussion or deliberation, are not a meeting for the purposes of the act.
So pretty much anybody can come to that one. Like all these, every one of them can, if they want to. Okay.
Yeah. Don't you deliberate.
Okay, I guess we need to state that we're not going to do the sewer deposits today.
Correct.
Any material bids open for that?
Mr. President.
Yes.
At this present time, I just went ahead and had it referred so we could get it on the agenda. Tommy and I will be getting with department heads and asking for a list of all the materials that they need to go out for purchase. And that will probably, it has to be done, I think, by March, I believe. I just want to be able to get it done so we don't have to do an emergency. So.
Open up for Solar Field sewer plant discussion.
Well, we're having a meeting on that on the 29th at 2 o'clock. And just getting it on the list that it's being thought of. So it's going to be a Zoom meeting, yep.
And there again, if it's a Zoom meeting, are we allowed to bring counsel in as well to listen to the Zoom meeting?
For information gathering purposes, yeah.
It will be that.
It will be that, yes. Okay, you're all invited.
All right, open it up for dumpster rates again, or for what Tommy said.
Jim, do you have a list of like who is charging what, like broke down about everybody in the area yet?
I just called Rumpke's and
Okay.
I've got ours, but I don't have it. I give it in.
My suggestion, let's have somebody, and I don't know who, but have somebody compare and get a price list put together for everybody locally so that we can determine where we think we need to be and then bring that back at our next meeting and make a decision.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. President, I would like to be able to have Jeff Dunn be a part of the conversation. Maybe we could bring him to a meeting. Jeff Dunn is the one that takes care of all that. He takes care of the sanitation and the dumpsters, and he takes care of the repairs and makes sure that the dumpsters are delivered and picked up, and so he's in charge of all that.
Okay.
So maybe we could schedule that out.
Hey, Bruce, do you think he's got those figures from the other places? Because I know he'd mentioned it before, when we were talking about fixing dumpsters and stuff before. He may already have a list of what the area groups are charging.
Well, if I may, maybe we could follow up at the next service committee meeting.
Okay.
After
Yeah, just get an
the
updated
regular
list.
scheduled council meeting.
Right, put that on the next scheduled council meeting. There you go.
I believe we could have that together.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to clarify something about what I mentioned about dumpsters. The one I ran was a 30-yarder, which is, it's longer than a bus, where the city only has 5,
3, 4, and
3,
5, I
okay,
think.
3, yeah. They have the smaller ones.
6.
So obviously the price per ton would be higher because you still have the same amount of labor driving back and forth and all that. And I would have been more than glad to use them from the city, because I knew they were, when I called, it was cheaper, but they didn't have any available. And they just don't have any available. So that's a whole other item, but there's a strong need for dumpsters. They just don't have them, and they don't have anything bigger either. So just mention that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
As a follow-up, being that Bucyrus is the largest municipality in Crawford County, and we have to meet the guidelines for payback periods, we as a city of Bucyrus have to pay a higher disposal rate, and so that's reflected in our dumpster rate. So, I mean, it is a different, actually a different rate. A commercial person can charge less than a municipality such as Bucyrus.
I did also see where if they have to come back more than once a week, or how many more times a month, there's another charge for that too, on top of their more normal weekly rate that they do. If it has to come back for more visits, they'll pay more for that too.
Right. It just happens to be our dumpsters are convenient for the lifestyle with inside the city.
Okay, open it up for airport runway lights discussion. Do we have anything on that yet? Mr. Mayor?
We went ahead and the runway lights, it was already in the budget. It was put in the budget by last council. The money is there. What it is that currently the runway lights that are out there, they're all incandescent. They run the full length of the runway. What the other problem is, the big problem is, the wire is a direct burial line in the ground. The new lighting would be all LED lighting, virtually no maintenance at all, and everything would be put in conduit. But it will actually parallel the same location as the current incandescent lighting. But the incandescent lighting has became antiquated, can't get parts. It's a constant thing that Kevin Dutray has to go out there on a regular basis at all hours and replace the light bulbs that are in there. So it's funded by 80% federal money, 5% state money, and 5% Bucyrus money. But the money's already there. It's already been budgeted. We're just asking for you to review it and ask for your approval so we can get it out to bid. And there's another thing. I believe that this has to be an emergency, I believe. I don't know. No, not an emergency.
Not on this one, we don't
Not
have
on
an
this
emergency.
one, okay.
I'll make a motion to send this on to finance for approval that service approves.
Kevin Myers first, Zion Hickman second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, open projects.
One of the things that was in open projects that I would like to bring up, and I think I'll concede to the administration, is our sewer rates for what our future plans are. I don't know if you want to open that discussion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Sewer rates, we're more or less, well, we are under an EPA mandate. We've come under their radar. We have to get something done. Our plant isn't capable of handling when we have high rain. We have a tendency that we can't handle all the influx of rainwater, so it goes directly out into the river. And of course, the EPA doesn't look too favorable upon us, mainly when we have fish kills. And so it's something that, I don't mean to be negative, but it's something that should have been done in a timely fashion, and some reason that we just kind of got kind of lackadaisical about it, and now we're under the gun. Now they're going to either we do it or we're going to probably get beat up. So, in so many words.
Is it safe to say that some of the fines that we could face are gonna be about what the cost of repairing the plant and making some changes to the plant could be?
The biggest thing is what we fear is the EPA is going to come in here and take over.
Yeah.
They're going to tell us, what we've asked for is to give us some leniency on setting our own rates, how we can go about being it so we can be more equitable to the people that we have their median income here in Bucyrus. And so by going ahead and doing this, we're looking to go ahead and put a 3-year plan in. The biggest thing is that by doing a 3-year plan, we can go ahead and get a pot of money. We'll just call it a pot of money. It's going to take about 18 months from the design and to get everything to ready to actually then to go out to bid, and so that's going to add some time to it as well. We went ahead back in December. We had a meeting with Arcadis. They're the company, there's a specialty company that is helping us deal with the EPA. They're following all the sewers. They're giving us recommendations how we should proceed forward. The past administration wanted us to go ahead and there was a suggestion of $54 million project that needed to be done. They suggested that we go ahead and spend another additional $8 million. We as a group of Tim Wood and the different department heads, Tommy Starner and myself, we asked for a study to be done. And it delayed it for about 2 months. So by having this study done by Arcadis, instead of spending, I don't know what the figure is right off. It was going to be like $62 million. By having this study, we've been able to whittle it down back to 59 million. 62 to 59, by waiting 2 months, we've been able to save $3 million bucks. So, I mean, that was a wise decision that was made by the department's heads and Tommy Starner. So, we thank him for that. We met with them this morning. I went ahead and had Kevin Myers and Jimmy Mee part of the discussion this morning with Arcadis. They came back to us and they did suggest that this, maybe Tim Wood's back there in the background, maybe he would be willing to come to the podium and help us out. Tim is in charge of the wastewater treatment plant, and is a valuable asset.
Tim Wood, City of Bucyrus, foreman, wastewater treatment plant. I guess I missed most of the meeting this morning, but yeah, we're looking to redo the plant. I mean, it's been, some of the stuff has been since '88. Others has been since 2000, so a lot of it needs replaced. And like the mayor said, we're under an administrative order from US EPA that we have to reduce our CSO discharges by 50%. So this will redo our plant, and that'll help us meet that goal to appease the EPA. Any other questions?
I know a lot of this is not just to appease the EPA, but it does really need upgrades anyway.
Yes, the plant does need upgrades, yes. I mean, well, this week here, that's all we've been doing is redoing the clarifier. Everything needs redone. And I mean, if you've, I could give you videos of the Buffalo sewer. Whenever we get a rain, it's just black, just going out into the river. And it's, I mean, it really does need done, yes.
And black means what?
It's sewage mixed with rainwater. But it's yeah, it should have been done a while ago.
Mr. Chair. One other thing too, Tim, that we discussed in the meeting, part of it was before you logged in, but I think you were present for part of it. You know, increasing our flow rates that we're able to accept. One of the other things that's going to do is for economic development from that standpoint. You know, we hear a lot from the residents in the community that, you know, we're struggling financially with the general fund and police and fire and yada, yada, yada. Why don't you bring more jobs here? And this is a portion of what we're trying to do, and that the administration brought in the partnership, and we worked on figuring out, you know, how much more can we add to increase, so that when we do have industry that's looking for a place to relocate, we're able to do that. There's been times in the past that industries have looked to come here, and we couldn't handle the amount of waste that they had, so we got passed by. So that's another thing that this whole project is going to do. It's going to improve our the amount of sewage that we're able to accept, so that we can be welcoming to bring more industry, more jobs to our community, which is something we've been pushing to do. I think that's very important to have clarified.
I agree with you on that. I know the water plant is a big step we needed to make and have done too.
Yeah.
Those two go side to side. They're part of the same equation.
Yeah.
As far as bringing more jobs
Water
to the
and
city.
sewage out.
And, you know, and better quality of life here in
Yeah.
general. And for the fish actually in the rivers.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, where we're at right now, we can't accept really, I mean, we have a little bit of leeway to accept a little bit of waste, but we're really close to our limit.
Everybody needs, you'll have, yeah.
I just like to make sure that I thank Tim Wood. Tim Wood is the integral part of it, that we waited 2 months to actually get some good figures, better figures, to know exactly, because there was some reservations on your end, and so it's worked out.
Thank you.
Biggest thing is just, we all have to remember that, you know, we're not the experts, it's these guys out here that are the experts. So.
Is it okay if I talk some money?
Okay, well, okay.
I was gonna ask him if you wanted to.
All right, well, Arcadis went ahead and gave us a rate structure, a suggested rate structure on how we should go about the next 3 years. We have to upfront the money, and the rates will be an accelerated rate, and it will go down over a period of 5 years. But we have to get that seed money in place, so when the first payment comes due, we actually have money there that we can draw from. Kevin went ahead, he's got his latest bill. He's figured out how much dollar-wise it's gonna go up per month. Yes, we have percentages. I just would rather see dollars reflected in the estimates that the people are gonna pay instead of percentages.
So like Bruce said, the percentages sound scary. You know, keep in mind your utility bill covers multiple things, not just water, not just sewage. So we're only talking right now about the sewage portion of your bill. So Arcadis' suggestion is year number 1 with a 15% increase, year number 2 a 14% increase, and year number 3 a 13% increase. Now, with that said, what Bruce said, that'll make our starting pool of money to be able to pay back our loans. Worst case scenario is we have to pay this whole $59 million ourselves. Best case scenario is what they're looking for is to bring in private investors and grants and things, but worst case is we have to get a low interest loan. So what we're doing is making sure we have enough money to get started on making those loan payments when the year 3 comes around.
That's why we're only doing a 3-year and not planning major increases out over a longer period of time, because we don't know that we're going to need that going forward. One of the things that Arcadis mentioned to us today in the meeting is that there are several communities that have done the same project, and they wait until the last minute and they give a 75% increase to try to cover the entire cost. And so I think it's great to point out that they're looking at this from a different standpoint where, yeah, those numbers sound scary, but what I did was I got a copy of my most current utility bill, and I have a usage of 1, but with a minimum of 2. I'm paying $14.48 right now for sewage, and that's what a lot of us are paying. So at a 15% increase on that, we'll take that $14.48 up to $16.65, so an increase of $2.33 a month for year 1 at 15%. So next year, we're looking at a 14% increase. So that $16.65 goes up to $18.98. Then we're looking at year 3, that 13% will take that $18.98 up to $21.44. So at the end of year 3, I'm going to look at an increase of $6.98 a month. When I break it down like that, it's a lot more easy to be palatable to say I'm going to be spending, about $7 a month more than 15, 14, and 13% raises. So, Bruce brings out a great point that I think we need to put this into real dollars. What is that going to do for us as far as our ability to pay back these loans? In year number 1, Arcadis is projecting that we will bring in an additional $450,000 into that fund. Year number 2, they're saying $770,000. In year 3, $1,100,000. So when you add those 3 together, my rough math is like $2.2 million that we will have banked that we're able to start making these loan payments. So that's all I have on that.
Mr. Mayor?
May I tap into Kaylee, please?
Sure.
Do you have anything further? You were a part of our meeting as well.
Nope, Kevin pretty much said everything that I take it down in my notes.
Okay, then I'll go back to Tim Wood.
No, not unless anybody has any questions. And, you're welcome to call me, stop out.
Tommy?
So this money will go into a specific fund and it won't be not dog-eared the right way, correct?
Exactly.
I'm actually going to refer the creation of the fund at the next meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just know that that's where we've gotten into trouble before.
Yeah.
Monies
This'll-
were spent that were for other things.
And this will
because
be
they
in
were-
that enterprise fund where it can only be spent on sewer, but she's going to create a separate account that is only for debt repayment for this project.
Nope, everything was said, as far as I know.
We want to set this for,
Is this emergency or not?
I want to set this
It's
for.
an emergency.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion requesting emergency legislation authorizing the rates to be adjusted, starting immediately at a 15% increase for this year, followed by 14% for calendar year 2024, followed by 13% for calendar year 2025 as an emergency.
Actually, this is 2024, so it's.
Okay, I had my years wrong. So 2024 at 15%, 2025 at 14%, and 2026 at 13%. Thank you.
You're welcome. I guess I have to second that since I corrected you.
Who first that one?
That was Myers.
So,
made the motion.
you made the motion.
yeah, if I could real quick confer, for billing purposes, would that be a start date of bills that start after February 1? Or March 1?
March 1.
March 1. So bills after March 1 for the remainder of 2024 at 15%, and then going forward each year annually.
Kevin Myers made the motion,
Sure.
and McSherrick made the second.
Yep.
Motion carries.
No.
You have to ask for a vote.
Ask for a vote, sorry.
All
Gotta
in
do that
favor.
first. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we're going to open up, back up to public participation again.
Okay, my name is Greg White, I live at 1125. Remember, those figures were only based on a usage too, okay? But I think the public needs to know right straight that if you're a 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, it's going to be a lot more than that, okay? So I would like to suggest to this committee, this council, this administration, to actually take the different usages and be respectful to the residents and tell them, if you are usage this is what you're going to be paying extra per year.
I believe that's fair, and I believe that's something we
Okay?
can do.
Because the reason why is you're basing it only on your 2 usages.
That's the only numbers I had to go with, yeah.
I have them all right here.
So do I, sir.
Yep. So, I mean, to me, I know this has to go for the council, but I think that someone needs to get with media and put this on all the different medias to let people know that if they want to come in and speak for or against or whatever before next council meeting, what actually are they going to be paying over the next? Because if you figure his numbers up on a usage 8, you're going to be paying close to almost $65. And that's a huge raise than what he's saying of 233. As the usage goes up, the numbers go up. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Ken Long, 625 South Spring Street. I guess I have a question. First of all, I appreciate all the diligence being done on the sewer. You guys are on, having committee meetings, getting outside consultation. That's good. All right. The only thing that caught me odd was, why is this considered an emergency, where if we go through 3 readings like a normal change, you're talking 6 or 8 weeks?
If I have an answer, unless you want to answer it for me, but in part of the meetings where we discussed with Arcadis, we're already behind the 8 ball. If we put that off, that makes it almost a month and a half before we're able to start collecting that. They have to submit a request for proposal and start to get the contracting lined up, and so we have to have that in place for that to happen.
Okay. I'm good. Okay. Personally, I'm good. I'm thinking like the average bear in the city.
Absolutely, yeah.
Every time emergency gets mentioned, everybody's horns go up.
Sure.
And
what I need to remember is the stuff I sat here and listened to this morning, you didn't hear. And so I apologize that I didn't better elaborate.
It's fine. I'm just,
It wasn't willy-nilly, it was due to the nature of what they explained to us.
I wouldn't have, just say, to me, we have a snow emergency and we got 5 feet of snow and you have to bring somebody in to clean it. That's an emergency. Where stuff like this is normal business, I just want to put that out, because it's, you guys do this all the time, I don't.
Yeah.
But
As Bruce elaborated too, we were already behind the 8 ball, and this should have been taken care of several months ago, and we're just trying to make sure we get our engineering in place so that, and the funds created so that we actually can get the ball rolling on this.
Thank you. You're talking long time down the road, the work it takes to get to the point where we actually get the job done.
Right. No, I understand you guys are under the gun. I get that, but does the average citizen, are they going to understand that? So, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
The biggest thing is we're gonna have to hurry up and Arcadis is gonna have to get these numbers together, and then they're going to turn around and put it in a report and send it to the EPA, in my best understanding. Maybe Tim could speak to that, I don't know.
I don't know, I missed the first part there.
Okay.
I missed the first part of the meeting. I know they do have a 6-month report. They have to do a 6-month and year report, so I think there's.
And that's due next month. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And who knows where the cost of material is going to be, and inflation and everything else right now. It could cost us way more down the road if we don't start getting on it now.
Some of those grants, you have to show financial ability before they're even able to apply. So this would be a step towards financial ability, so that once we start showing that we're putting money in reserve, then some of those grants become available, or at least we become contestants for them.
A lot of the grants are shovel ready.
Right.
So once we have our engineering done, then we're considered shovel ready, and a lot of them, they want you shovel ready to get out the money.
Any more public participation, or? All right, meeting's going to be adjourned at 7:07.
Health and Safety Committee, January 18th, 2024.
I'll call the Health and Safety Committee meeting to order at, okay, clock.
It is 7:08.
7:08. Members present are Kevin Myers, C. Aaron Sharrock, James B., and myself, Vicki Dishon, as chair. Before we have public participation, I would like to extend a big thank you to, get my notes here, to Jeff Dunn, our service garage foreman, and his crew. They have worked on placing the Dora posts and signs. They have installed 17 posts and 16 signs, and we're just waiting for one more sign to come, and it'll all be complete. And again, I want to say thank you so much to Jeff and his crew out there. Secondly, I need to apologize. I neglected to get with Clerk Wise and ask for her to place on our agenda ordinance number 53-2023, the International Property Maintenance Code, repeat offenders. No excuse. I just neglected to do that, but I want the folks that are here to speak to know that definitely you are going to have your opportunity, to talk about the ordinance. With that being said, I will now ask for public participation.
Greg White, 1125 Hillcrest Drive. So when is that public participation going to? Are we going to keep on tabling this ordinance until public participation is completed?
Well, you know what I'm thinking, if you folks are okay with it, is the ordinance 53-2023 is, why don't we address that after we have the public participation, for just anyone that wants to generally come up and talk about something. We'll do the approval of minutes, and then we will start with the ordinance 53.
That's fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I guess I'll ask, does anybody have any questions about our minutes, the December 21st, 2023 regular committee minutes? That was for, again, last year. And as Mr. Myers had pointed out, the committee members for health and safety in 2023 have signed a sheet acknowledging that they approve their minutes, and we're just now going to approve their approve.
Okay, so if you'd like, I'll make a motion to collectively do the December 21st, 2023 and the January 4th, 2024 minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I guess, do I say opposed?
You should.
Opposed?
Unless you really heard all of them.
Okay, with that being said, yes, public participation, I guess. Was there anyone that wanted to come up? I'm sorry.
I was waiting for you. The last council meeting, right that off 210 Ethel Street. At the last council meeting, Mayor Truca brought up getting a list of houses that need torn down or whatever, and you mentioned the Platting Committee, but last time I brought this property up, it was in the Service Committee meeting about a year ago. I'm sure Mr. Gerner will remember this one. It's here, 1201 Reed Street, the mobile home on the corner that's been vacant for 10 years. Vicki will remember this one too, because she brought it up to me that the owners are deceased. Like I said, it's been sitting there for over 10 years. I'm sure Mr. Mayor's familiar with this property. I would like to see something done with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public participation?
Along that note, I only have one to add to that. Oh. Thought I was still on that side. Chris Mauritz, 226 Plymouth Street. I only had one to that. I went through my ward. Some of the properties that I had concerns about are they're actually being fixed up inside. I was surprised about that. We already had the one on Dudley, so I don't have to worry about that one. The only one I could see is another trailer, 227 Emerson, I believe. It's been empty for quite a while now, too. I mean, years and years.
227?
Yes.
Did that trailer that was on Maple Street, close to Irving, ever get taken care of?
Yeah. Private buyer bought it and tore it down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I haven't been up there in a while.
I want to add that mobile homes should be no sweat to get rid of. Not like going through a house and checking for asbestos and all that thing. So these mobile homes that are sitting around town should be easy to get rid of. keep that in mind.
Carolyn Shireman, 1065 East Bill Avenue. I have two, I'm not sure of the address, but they're right across from 268 Whetstone. There's a trailer. I don't think anybody's living in that one. And then the house next to it is all boarded up.
I know that house got condemned back when Mr. Ratliff was here.
Then why ain't nothing been done?
I know. I don't know.
Okay, that's the two I know.
Thank you.
Right before the railroad tracks.
Yeah, I know what she's talking about.
Any more public participation?
Yes.
Chris Mauritz, 226 Plymouth Street. When I started to decide to do this, that was the second concern that people in my ward had, was the properties that were severely needed addressed. That's it. That's all I got on that.
Madam President.
I want to know what number one was.
Madam President.
What's number one?
Ward 1, excuse me.
You said that
What
was
was
the
the
second.
number one? You said second. What was the first concern?
Oh, okay, sorry. Chris Mauritz.
Just curious now.
You can't leave us there.
Well, the first concern was about raising taxes and all that. Everybody who's working out of town that I spoke to are really, really unhappy right now. That's it. That was the first one.
Okay, before I recognize the mayor, now I'm getting a little confused here because this is being discussed in health and safety. And again, it was on the Platting Committee, of course, as Mr. Thitoff mentioned. Before it was in,
Service and public safety.
The difference was, he asked for addresses to take to the land bank, whereas health and safety would handle them if we were handling them.
that's why it was in Platting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why during the planning committee is when the mayor asked for addresses to take to land bank.
I just brought it up because a year ago when I was here, I brought it up in Service Committee and was talking to Mr. Gernert about it.
Okay, brought it up in service.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
That's your call to let the public speak, and we can't really discuss it with them, but we
yeah,
can.
okay. Any other public participation? Okay, seeing no one, we will then have discussion on ordinance number 53-2023, which has to do with repeat offenders of the International Property Maintenance Code.
Greg White, 1125 Hillcrest Drive. I have submitted some questions to the law director. I hope he brought some answers to them of how many repeat offenders have we had in the year 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 23.
Right, so I emailed you back based upon your questions. We have over 800 property maintenance cases from 2019 to 2023, and to actually evaluate repeat offenders, you would have to go back through all 800, figure out what the initial person was, what violation they received, and then match that up. You emailed me yesterday at 2 o'clock, and I haven't had an opportunity to obviously go through 800 cases.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm still looking for that documentation.
Okay.
Because I think it's pertinent to this legislation, this ordinance, that it should be discussed in open forum before it's being voted on. Because to me, repeat offenders, like you said in your letter to council, is mostly weeds, grass, trash, garbage, and debris. As you so stated in your letter that you submitted to council.
It absolutely
Along
would
with
be.
the other things about, just going to trial and all these other things. My other concerns with this is many things. The repeat offender is supposed to be within 2 years. I think that is way too long. Okay? I think a 1-year limit would be more acceptable to certain things. Also, in council, I brought up Tuesday night, Ohio Revised Code Section 5321, okay, perfectly states who's responsible for most of this stuff. It's the tenant. And researching the 2012 International Property Maintenance Agreement, which I have right here. I did a lot of research and made some phone calls. There is a lot of good information in here. The one I'm referring to is under Section 102, applicability, and it's 102.10, other laws. The provisions of this code shall not be deemed to nullify any provisions of local, state, or federal laws, which means this cannot supersede the Ohio Revised Code. Okay? It also goes more into definition, which I think most of you people in council do not know, because it's very long and very wordy. Let for occupancy, it's a definition, or to let. To permit, provide, or otherwise possess or occupy, occupancy of a dwelling, dwelling unit, rooming unit, building, premises, or structure by a person who is or is not the legal owner of the recorded thereof pursuant to a written, unwritten lease, agreement, or license, or pursuant to a record or unrecorded agreement of a contract for the sale of the land. Okay? It goes into, and it's not listed in the ordinance as it's supposed to state, okay, by the 2012 International Property. It says that any person, agent, operator, firm, or corporation having a legal, equitable interest into the property. Okay? The ordinance does not say anything about an agent or operator. It says a person, firm, or corporation. So, right there, the verbiage is not correct to the ordinance. The ordinance is not correct to the code. Under Section 302, sanitation. Okay? It says, the exterior property and premises shall be maintained in a clear, safe, and sanitary condition. The occupant shall keep that part of the exterior property of which occupants occupy or control in a clean and sanitary conditions. It says occupant, does not say property owner, does not say owner. Also, many years we've been talking about sidewalks in this town. Hee-haw, I found it. So, sidewalks and driveways. All sidewalks and walkways, stairs, driveways, parking spaces, and similar areas shall be kept in proper state of repair and maintained from free of hazardous conditions. Why haven't this city been using this international property code? That was back in 2013 and replacing our sidewalks in this city. When it's been brought up before in city council about, well, we can't do nothing. It's been in this International Property Maintenance Code since it's been adopted by this city.
Can I touch on that? Greg, do you have the money to fix all the sidewalks?
Wait a minute.
Well, no, I'm asking a question. It's a question.
That's up to the property
Do
owner.
you have the money to fix them all? Okay.
Wait a minute. You cannot pick and choose the
I'm
code.
asking you a question. Do you have the money?
If I had to fix mine, I would fix mine,
The
yes.
city does not have the money, and some of these
No,
others...
you're misunderstanding this.
I do not misunderstand this.
It says the
We are hitting
owner,
people...
the owner
We are
is
hitting
responsible.
people who do not have the money.
Well, I understand.
This is where it hit a wall, because we were not
But
trying
you
to put
can't pick
undue
and
pressure
okay, I
on
understand.
people
You
for this.
cannot pick and choose what you want to enforce in this code. If you do, that's called discrimination. And that will open the city up for future lawsuits and legal action because you're picking and choosing. You can't do that. Okay? Going on further. Section 302. Upon failure of the owner or agent having charge of a property to cut and destroy weeds after service of a notice of violation. Okay? So it goes back to the tenant, the occupant. Going back to section 5321 of the High-Vis Code. Okay? A tenant means a person entitled under the rental agreement to use and occupancy of the residence premise to and exclude all others. Okay? Back to the tenant, not the property owner, okay, or anything like that. Says here in Section 5321.03. The violation of the applicable building, housing, health, and safety codes that the tenant complained was the primary cause of any act or act of reasonable care by the tenant or by any other person in the tenant's household or by anybody else on the premises with the consent of the tenant is responsible, not the property owner. State, cite that in the state code, and that's law.
Mr. White,
Yes.
question. And I'm trying to remember here, what did we do with another committee tonight where we're going to set up a special meeting just to discuss that issue?
Yep, you can create a special meeting for this issue.
That's fine.
How would you feel about that, where we have a special meeting and it's just to discuss
Oh,
this?
that's fine. I'd be more, I'm open to that because I think this needs to be addressed in an open forum meeting, okay? Everything, the verbiage, the language, whatever you want to call it. Because now you're dealing with a property maintenance code of 2012 that says certain things, okay? You have the Ohio Revised Code that is saying this. And then like in 5321.05, tenants' obligations. Okay? It clearly states that they have to maintain the property. Section A, 1, 2, 5, 6, it all stipulates in the Ohio Revised Code. And including in the International Property Code maintenance, that section where if there are state, local, state, and federal laws, the code means nothing. You can't enforce it. It also gives duties and responsibilities of the inspector and what classifications and training they must have in the International Property Safety, in the 2012 International Property Safety, Property Maintenance Agreement.
Well, if you're okay with that, then we'll make contact.
Okay.
After I've talked with the committee and then decide when we, would like to set up a special health and safety committee meeting. Or I guess, I don't know, did you set up a meeting?
Has to be referred first for that instance, and this
So,
one you could set
so
it right
basically.
now.
Yeah, because it's already
you can
on
vote
the-
Tonight, this committee can vote tonight to keep this tabled, correct? Before it goes to the
No,
next.
it was tabled at the last council meeting, so at the next council meeting, it will be brought back off the table, which time it could be tabled again or voted on.
So we could be basically denied the right to have a meeting or open public forum if you guys so decide to vote on it
I
and pass
suppose
it.
if that's what we decided, but I believe what the consensus of the entire council was to pull it off the table so that it could be talked about, which is
Okay.
exactly what we're trying to do.
Okay, I agree with that. I'm wholeheartedly agree that we sit down and talk and
Don't be
have.
such a contrarian to us about it.
No.
Understand that we're here to listen to you.
That's
You don't-
fine.
You don't need to sit there and accuse us of not listening to the public when that's exactly what we're doing.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying we need open discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Long, did you want to talk any about?
No, I'm good. I'm looking forward to the public hearing.
Okay, great. Did anybody else want to interject any of their thoughts on the ordinance 53-2023? Okay, seeing no one else, then I guess next is our April 8th, 2024 solar eclipse, which,
It's my opinion they're already handling it at this point,
Yeah.
and they'll report back to us later. That's how I feel.
okay.
I can't speak for those two.
Aaron, or I should say, Ms. Sharrock, Mr. B. Do you want to speak, Mr. Long?
Ken Long, 625 South Spring Street. I just had a quick question. Is there funding from state or federal when you have an issue, or I'm calling it an issue, the solar eclipse? When something special happens, like it's a once in every 100-year kind of thing, is there any funding for that outside?
We're hoping to find out here in this meeting in the next couple of days.
Okay.
I hope there's something.
Yeah. I mean, just like for porta pot rentals,
Right, yeah,
$5,000 for that helps out.
The
so.
EMA, I'm sure, has got some information for us, and we're hoping to find that out.
Because it causes a problem for this little sliver of the earth.
Right.
So somebody should be there to
Yeah, and we're gonna have to, we're probably gonna have to bring extra police, extra fire, I mean, all that stuff, we still gotta work through, so.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Now, I just remembered, was this committee, Bruce, where you raised your hand and?
That's all right, move on.
I'm sorry.
That's fine, that's fine.
I'm sitting here thinking, now, when did Bruce do that?
On that previous topic, would we be able to meet before the next council meeting at 6, since the council meeting's at 7, and that way people feel like they've gotten a say prior to whether or not we table this, the last?
53.
Or how about, I'll put myself out on a limb, and maybe you two agree with me, or the three of you agree with me. I have no intentions on trying to push it forward. I have no problem saying,
Well, I was
I
gonna
will
say,
ask
I
to
mean-
have it tabled at the next meeting. I don't know that we need to rush a meeting so
Yeah,
that
I
the public
think-
doesn't get a chance.
because
That's
with
exactly what they're asking for. Let's make sure that the people.
Well,
have
that's why I
time.
was saying, I mean, if we did this way, then they'd know in advance how many, 2 weeks now, and, kind of thing.
Oh, that's correct,
But
because we do.
Before we get, accused of not having that out there.
Well, I'm gonna put myself out and say as well,
Yeah, I don't think anybody, I think I can speak that all of us kind of have the mentality we want to hear what people have to say.
Yeah.
So I feel safe, like, let's schedule something that gives people fair notice and not cramming them in here in the next 2 days.
it's okay?
That's
Great.
2 weeks.
Next, open projects. I know when we had our last committee meeting, I indicated that, I was hoping the committee, or was wanting the committee to look at their open projects list. We would go over it at this meeting. If the committee's okay, because we have people, we've got more things to talk about. I mean, the list has been there, what's a couple more weeks? So if the committee's fine, I'm gonna
fine.
bypass.
That works for me.
Great.
If I could suggest,
Oh, sure.
what I did with finance, I went to the administration and said, is there anything on this list that you want me to leave on there? And we noted a few. My plan is to ask to get rid of everything else that's on that list. Maybe you guys could do the same and have them look at it, and you as the chair make
Sure.
some decisions and come back to us at the next meeting with your suggestions and go that route.
Okay. Any other public participation? Okay, and I guess this is where I could just adjourn the meeting?
Yep,
ma'am.
At
7:31.
It is 7:31.
7:31 PM.
Public Lands and Buildings Committee, January 18th, 2024.
I'm going to call Public Lands to Buildings to order at 7:33 PM. Members present are Zion Hickman, Carolyn Shireman, Chris Mauritz, and myself, Sierra and Sharrock, Chair. Do we happen to have any public participation for Public Lands and Buildings? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask if we have a motion out there for the approval of minutes. You can also do that collectively.
I will make a motion to collectively approve the minutes from December 21, 2023, and January 4th, 2024 Public Lands and Buildings Committee meeting.
I second.
All right, so we have a motion from Mr. Hickman and a second from Mr. Mauritz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, sorry. All right, so those have been passed. Nice. Okay, so then we had a creation of the Pines Reservoir Subcommittee on the list. Mr. Truca, did you want to talk about that? Or did you want to?
Well, I was hoping that you guys would take it. I was hoping you guys would take it over from that point. We just recommended that Ray Thitoff would be
In charge
the
of it.
lead person. He's got a lot of good ideas about Bucyrus trails. Having listened to Ray and then having listened to Tommy Sterner talk about how they implemented something, I'll let Tommy talk about it. He can talk about it himself, what they had done at Winford.
Out at Winford, we made trails through the woods. We put the mulch that we actually grind out here and have to pay to take away. We put that mulch down on a trail, which helps keep you from sinking in the mud and stuff. It made it really nice, and then we mulched around for school areas to have teaching lessons out there. Put trees down, which Ray suggested that. We put tree trunks down to where the kids can sit on it, or anyone can sit on it. It could be a Cub Scout group or whatever. So there's a lot of possibilities.
Thanks, Vicki.
I realize I'm not coming under public participation,
That's
but
okay, it's in the conversation, so.
Ordinance 6-2017, you know, we were talking about how you go about creating a subcommittee, and this is what they did for the Tree City USA Board. Now, I'm sure that probably with the Tree City USA, well, I know that was one of the requirements in order to be a part of the Tree City USA, you had to establish a board. And this ordinance here just says authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of Bucyrus, Ohio to create and establish the Tree City USA Board for the city of Bucyrus, detailing the terms of office, you know, compensation, duties, and responsibilities. It's just a simple piece of legislation that says how many members there'll be, how they're chosen, what their terms are. So I don't know why just a simple ordinance.
Okay, my next question is, should this just be a Pines Reservoir Committee, a subcommittee? Or should it be a park subcommittee and it starts out with the Pines Reservoir?
Adam Rose, whoever, where am I talking to?
Mr. Truca, go ahead.
Having had discussion with Ray, he suggested that it would be Bucyrus Trails. It just won't be, and why don't you come up and you explain it? I mean, it's your bailiwick.
Break that off 210 Ethel Street. Obviously, we're just getting started and we're gonna learn as we go along, but the trail down at All Miller Park was brought up that Michelex had donated to All Miller Park. That's a possibility to establish some more trails in there. Pines Reservoir, the Riley Reservoir, there's a wooded area behind there. We can do trails. It should be like a,
So like parks and trails, and that way it's all encompassing, because I know we've had some questions about the parks and we've questions
Yeah, I don't know
about
if
the
we-
trails, because then that gives us more as to who you would want on your board,
yeah, I don't know if we want to mix it in with the parks or not, or just leave it strictly like trails.
not the city parks? Okay.
Just trails, yeah.
I suggest that Mr. Thitoff should be able to name it since it's his baby.
I think the Bucyrus Trails Committee is what we came up with.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, because I was just looking, it was just Pines Reservoir, and I knew you'd talked about other things, that's why I was like, you know, if
Well, that's
it's
just
a
kinda
bigger
getting-
entity to get it, you know, just in case.
Just getting it started, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so what do we have to do to do that legislation, Brian?
Well, so, I mean, you could be as detailed as you wanted, or you could, as Mrs. Dishon pointed out, the 2017 ordinance gave the administration authority to create a tree city board. So you could create a Bucyrus Trails Committee and give the administration authority to create membership into that as they desire. Or you guys could say, you know, we appoint X, Y, and Z members to the Bucyrus Trails Committee. The administration gives the authority to appoint such other members up to whatever, and their duties include, you know, making trails throughout the public lands with the approval and consent of Public Lands and Buildings Committee and the administration, yada, yada.
Okay, so what we would do is ask for what, legislation to create this, like an ordinance?
Yeah. an
That's the
ordinance
wording
would-
I was looking for.
Yeah, as for,
Because I'm thinking mirroring that pretty well. I mean,
yeah, so you'd ask.
I
for-
would definitely suggest adding something like having a member of administration and a member of council.
I believe,
from
isn't there,
plans-
I was going to say, I think Carolyn's already,
I'm already on one, yeah.
yeah,
But
to go
that's
to
what
the
I'm saying, I mean,
parks.
as part of it written in, stating that we should have somebody from public lands and buildings and somebody from the
Isn't there two
administration.
council members that go to the Crawford Park District
I
meetings?
think it's Zion and me.
Is it you two? Can I suggest that you
Crawford
two,
Park?
I would love to.
Get on this.
Zion, let me have this.
both of you?
Well,
Oh, both of
We're-
us?
Both of us.
Okay. Yes, I want on it, please, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, so what we need to do is get a motion to get the ordinance started.
Right, ask for an ordinance creating the Bucyrus Trails Committee.
I'd like to make a motion to, what was that again?
Create an ordinance.
Create an ordinance for
The
Bucyrus Trails
Committee.
Committee.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a first from Mr. Mauritz and a second from Mr. Hickman. Do we have, is all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. All right, so moving on, the relocation of the lactation room.
I
Okay,
have a comment, please.
what's your comment?
Okay. I suggest that the lactose room,
Lactation?
yeah, that place, be
Okay.
moved over here by this bathroom across from the clerk's office. It's got its own lock. It's got that first room by the bathroom, which is plenty room, and whatever they do to do what they gotta do, I think that would be the perfect room.
I think
Okay.
Mayor Truca has done some research, and you want to speak on this, Mayor? I don't.
Well, what really brought it about, I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but I stayed over one night with Police Chief Neil Ossenheimer, and we had a Civil Service Commission meeting, and we had that meeting, and it was a lengthy meeting, and we got out of here, I don't know, approaching 7 p.m. Anyway, so we were done, and we went ahead and turned the lights out and locked the door. And we didn't know anyone was back here. And so after Neil showed up downstairs, they asked, did we see the certain person up here? And Neil said no, so the time Neil got back up the stairs, unlocked the door and turned the lights out, the participant was coming out at that point in time. That's what worries me a little bit about being in this room.
Okay.
I think that for security reasons, it would be nice if there would be a way that this committee could put and designate a certain room where there's security, the security would be within eye shot of the police. That's a good idea over there as well, in the corner, because you can actually go in there. What I've looked up with the federal Department of Labor, and then I also got on the Ohio State website as well, talking about lactation. They made it loud and clear. It cannot be within the confines of a bathroom, but it can be in a separate room by itself. It has to be within a reasonable location of a bathroom. So the reasonable location, if it were downstairs, it could be in the women's restroom, or it could be in the police department restroom, because that's one of our participants.
All right, having been through this and actually used the lactation room, it can't be in the bathroom. But yeah, like that little room over here would be beautiful. It'd be really nice to get that recycling stuff out of the way and just put some space in there. The reason it needs to be near a restroom is running water. Being able to clean things off when things go awry. So I know that they'd mentioned a room downstairs, and I'm like, but how close is that to running water? And how many people do you have to pass if you're having a slight emergency versus being able to lock yourself in and take care of it without embarrassment? So that was why I had suggested this one up here previously, and they were like, well, there's a bathroom back there. Well, that's great, but like you guys said, then they're locked in here. Plus, they have to find somebody to unlock this space to get in here. So yeah, I do 100%, I'm 100% behind moving it, but I would definitely move it to a place where it's easier for a person to have some privacy and less, yeah.
as far as, well, it lists things, but if you're okay with it, that's great. What I was getting at though, we would be, as an administration, we would be more than happy to get those dumpster things out of that room. Don't really understand why they were put in there in the first place. I don't really quite understand that.
And why it had to stay there? Yeah, we were all wondering that.
So, I mean.
It was very adamant that it stayed in the women's restroom area. I had no clue as to
But that's
why.
what I was looking for is for you guys to solve the problem and.
Yeah, I was 100% for using this room when we brought it up, and they acted like I was nuts and had no clue as to why that would be a better space.
Well, I thank you for your consideration.
I did not mention at the time, you know, that's something I've had to use, but yes, all three of my kids. I mean, I went into a small closet at Marion Juvenile when I was working there, and that was not a very good situation. So.
I can make a motion to relocate the lactation room?
That is an amazing motion, sir. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, so we have a first from Mr. Mauritz and a second from Mr. Hickman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, so that has been passed, and we are all open to going ahead and having that location changed. I would suggest a sign that we can flip for occupied, because that door locks.
For occupied.
Okay, perfect.
The sign downstairs already says second floor, so you're golden there. I know I do. Calm down now.
It's okay. We can hear him. But yeah, so just putting that sign on so people know, you know, because the door does lock, that was checked, so.
Yeah, it says lactation occupied or unoccupied.
Yep.
And you can slide the sign sideways. To
Yep,
cover
so
one
that's
or the other.
absolutely perfect. All right, so that being done, I'm going to suggest that we get information from you guys of anything that you think needs to stay on open projects.
Okay.
And then we'll go ahead and weed the list down that way. Because, I mean, all right, and do we have any more public participation? All right, seeing none, I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 7:48 PM.
January 18th, 2024.
This is the Platting Committee. Members Aaron Sharrock, Carolyn Shireman, Vicki Dishon, and James Mead, Chair.
7:49 PM.
I was getting to it. 7:50.
Now.
Any public participation? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for December 21, 2023, and the approval of the minutes for January 4th, 2024.
I would make a motion to collectively pass both the December 21st, 2023 and the January 4th, 2024 minutes.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Housings that need tore down.
We got a few of those in the health and safety meeting. Do you want me to repeat the ones that we were given during that time?
No, we're good.
Okay.
I guess we're to open projects. So my suggestion, first of all, I'm going to ask Vicki what she feels about this. We have sidewalks, installation, and repair on there. And I have parking lot requirements. I need some changes done in this general requirements, 1189.03. If you don't have a copy, I have a copy. Can we make those changes now, or do I have to refer this piece of legislation to this committee?
Is it on the open projects?
It's a gray area.
You know how I am about gray areas.
So is that. Okay, open projects. Codified ordinance 119107, temporary signs. I don't think we need that on there, do we?
What was that in reference to, do we know?
No.
Because if it's in reference to like the temporary signs we put up specifically for things like the festival, that's something that comes up every year, which is why it would stay on there. But if it's in reference to something else, then it could come off. That's why some of these things are on constantly. Do you know, Brian?
Yeah. Does it have a date?
2019, BZA grants variance for signs and violations in January. Resolved to send a letter to council seeking clarity on something.
Yeah, so if it's specifically about something the BZA did in 2019, you could probably close that.
Any objections to closing that out? Awesome. Sidewalks and installation and repair, I'd like to keep that one on there. Is that okay?
Especially since it just came up again tonight. No problems for me.
All right. Is that okay? Keep that on there?
Yes, sir.
Zoning for Airbnb.
I can tell you about that.
Yeah, would you?
That was referred to committee on November the 3rd, 2020, and that had to do with a property at the Whetstone Street and Beale Avenue. We're looking to have a use as a bed and breakfast. I mean, I'll just read the minutes real quick. Zoning for bed and breakfast. Zoning Administrator Hill noted that interest was expressed in a property at Whetstone Street and Beale Avenue for use as a bed and breakfast, but that the use is only permitted in the downtown business district. Given that a zoning variance could not have been granted in this case, it was suggested considering this as a conditional or permitted use, and whether Airbnb rental should become a zoning issue. And basically, it says the matter was continued. As far as I'm concerned, I think it should come off.
As far as I'm concerned, that house was sold and is a house there a family's living, and it's not an Airbnb idea at all.
Just to clear the air, the HOA took care of it.
Okay.
I can't tell you who owned it, but they took care of it. Housing issues, we're going to keep on. Okay.
Shipping container usage, you took that off because that's been taken care of.
Okay.
We passed the legislation on that, or former council did.
Building setback requirements.
That's done. Ordinance 6-2023 took care of that. So that can come off.
Okay. So everything else can come off, correct?
Yep.
Except for sidewalks and housing issues.
Yes.
We almost have a clean slate. Got it? All right. Takes care of open projects. Any public participation? Seeing none? I'll adjourn it, huh?
7:55.
Development Committee, January 18th, 2024.
I will call the Economic Development Committee to order at 7:57 PM. Members present are Vicki Dishon, Carolyn Shireman, Chris Mauritz, and Zion Hickman, myself, Chair. Do we have any public participation? Seeing none. Do I have a collective motion for approval of minutes?
Yeah. How do I say that? I make a motion to collectively approve the minutes.
Give the dates of
Oh,
minutes.
December 21st, 2023, and January 4th, 2024.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Second from Vicki. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the Crawford Partnership Agreement. So, Vicki?
Okay. Is Kevin sitting over there?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. If you'll remember, at Tuesday's council meeting, I talked about the fact that a referral was presented at the January 2nd council meeting for a 2-year, well, it was stated that the 2-year contract for the Crawford Partnership had expired on 12/31/23 and was asking to have it renewed for another 2 years. Now, at the January 16th council meeting, I stated in air that I found the agreement for the Crawford Partnership. That wasn't the name back then, it was the Big Long Crawford County Education Economic Development Partnership. I said I found the agreement for 21, but it was actually, the agreement was for the year 2022, and it's 1 year. But I also said, and I also said that I could not locate an agreement for 2023. So, I'm getting a little goofy here. I found the resolution for having a 1-year contract with the partnership for 2022. I also found the signed agreement for the 1-year contract for the calendar year 2022. That contract was signed by Mayor Reeser and Aaron Stein as acting director of the partnership. Now, Mr. Myers, if you'll remember, you stated at Tuesday's meeting that there is a signed contract for 2022 and 2023.
Well, I might be wrong.
You saw it with your own eyes. It's in the mayor's office.
It's in the mayor's office. What I
And it was signed by Reeser and Wagner.
Yeah, what I do remember is that when we discussed it in committee, that we had asked for it to be a 2-year agreement for that purpose, because the whole problem was, we felt at that time the partnership was not coming and telling us what our return on our investment for that money was, and we did it as a 2-year to coincide with each council term.
Well, you asked for it in 2021 to be a 2-year, but the committee said, no, it's going to be 1 year.
I didn't recall that, so thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah,
All right.
So I'm back to myself. I'm the one that made the motion for it to be a 2-year contract. And that was where I'm smacking myself that I didn't research this. And I like to think I'm a researcher, and I didn't do it this time, and I'm a little aggravated at myself. But anyhow. It's always been a 1-year contract, so I'm of the opinion that we go with the 1-year contract.
So we should return back to the 1-year contract then?
Now, I will say this, that we did have a little meeting with Mr. Zach, and my big concern after I made the motion then, 2-year contract, and now we're talking about, our money situation, here with the city, and I'm thinking, okay, my concern was, we have a 2-year contract and we don't have the funds to pay for this contract. We could be in a pickle. And because we've entered into the contract, my concern was, are we obligated to pay for that 2-year contract? We got to come up with the money somehow. But my concern was eliminated, if you will, because in the 2022 agreement, it says that the city and the partnership shall be entitled to terminate this agreement at any point with or without cause upon a 30-day written notice of their intention to do so. Payments will be prorated. Upon expiration of the termination, each party will be fully released from any obligations hereunder. So I feel better with that, and definitely want that statement in the contract that which I do believe we put that in there. And I suppose you could go back and say, well, hey, you've got that in there, so why not keep it at 2 years? Because you've got the ability to go back and say, hey, we're going to have to terminate. We just don't have the funds or whatever. So I guess maybe, I could, and let the rest of the committee, throw their
Well,
2 cents. One thing I will say is in the legislation, I don't know why I don't have that with me. I can't believe that. In the legislation, we refer to contract, but yet the actual document that's being signed is an agreement. And I know we've sort of had this discussion back and forth. I mean, I'm of the opinion, if what you're signing is an agreement, that's what you call it in the legislation, is an agreement, not a contract. I think there's a difference. I know you and I differ on that, but that's okay. Right? That we differ?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, we can change it to whatever.
I mean, that's my personal opinion, that it needs to be titled in the legislation as an agreement. And I guess though, and then the other thing is, in your legislation, you indicated that to enter into the attached, now we'll say agreement. And when we say attached agreement, I would like if you could make some reference to the agreement being marked as Exhibit A, and the agreement shows Exhibit A, just for reference purposes, if you're agreeable or to that. And again, as far as 1 year, 2 year,
so I guess my question to you then is, are you looking for a 1 year or a 2 year? Carolyn?
I like the 1 year for the reasons that she stated.
The same reason.
I don't know, maybe.
Carolyn finished it.
Pardon?
Are you done?
I guess. I was just ran over.
No, I'm finished. I was just waiting.
I think we should go to the 1 year for the reasons that Ms. Dishon just stated.
Okay. Since everybody's looking at me now. All right, Aaron Sharrock, 1485 Oak Ridge Drive, Bucyrus, Ohio. Previously, we had looked at the 2-year agreement because it saved us money on legislation. So would we be able to make a 2-year agreement with the city to make single-year agreements with allow them every 2 years to go ahead and make the agreement yearly with David Zach, so that it covers both bases, where we're still on a 1-year agreement with the partnership by the rights of the city deciding, and they have 2 years to do that at a time to save money on legislation.
You could do it, yeah.
So the legislation would be for us to give you permission 2 years at a time to go into those individual year agreements.
you're giving that permission to the administration?
To the administration, because that's who we give
No.
to sign the agreement.
That's too confusing.
But anyway, if you look at the legislation versus when the agreement gets signed kind of thing.
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor?
You know what you see what I'm saying?
I'm not hearing.
Okay, so every time we do legislation, it costs us money. That was the idea behind the 2-year thing. The 1 year was because we hadn't been getting information previously and we weren't happy. So if there's a way to do the legislation for every 2 years to have the contract signed once a year, so it can be signed twice during that period. If we wanted to do the 1 year,
So if you do a 2 year, it saves about saves $1,000, don't it?
yeah,
Saves $1,000. But you have the opt-out clause, so.
yeah, we do still have the opt-out clause.
Now, where are you coming up with 1,000?
About $200. 200?
I thought he said 1,000. Isn't that what you
He
said?
did, he
Oh,
did.
there's no way that costs the telegraph
About
board.
$200, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor wants
Excuse me. I'm sorry, Mayor, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to be able to interject it. That way council has more of a say in it. And that way they are representing all the citizens here in Bucyrus, their wards and their council at large seats. And I think it's a good way that they have That way they're more beholding to the people that put them in the seat. And so I would be more than happy to relinquish my responsibilities and let city council.
Well, and city council is the one that's doing it right now.
Correct, so it's yours.
Chris, do you have any objections to a 2-year?
No, I don't have any objection to a 2-year at all.
All right. Then, do I hear a motion to enter into a agreement with the Crawford Partnership for $50,000 for a 2-year retroactive to January 1st, 2024 and ending in December 31st,
Yeah,
2025?
and remember, because I did the same mistake, Mr. Gerner needed, or corrected me on that, it's $50,000 a year.
A year, yeah.
I had that on there and I did not say that. For $50,000 a year.
This has already been prepared, right?
Yes, you prepared the legislation and the agreement, but at council, we asked that it be referred back to committee because one, it was only referred to the Economic Development Committee, and it also needs to be referred to the Finance Committee because there's expenditure of funds. So it had to come back anyhow.
Yeah, I
But-
got you. No, that's fine. I just, yeah.
Do I have a motion?
I motion it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a first by Carolyn, a second by Mr. Mauritz. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll go aye.
Moving on to open projects.
But now I'm not done.
Oh.
One other thing, if you would do, Mr. Gerner, and I know you're going to think it's probably repetitious, but I did have this discussion with Mr. Zach, several of us did, that we would also like a whereas clause that reiterates the fact that we can terminate the agreement. I mean, I know it's already in here, and a whereas clause does not add any more costs because the only thing that you publish in the newspaper is the caption. But I just think it would be nice to look at a resolution and then see that whereas clause that says, oh, and by the way, we can opt out. Because sometimes when it says attached is the agreement, it doesn't always get attached. So that would be one request that I would have, along with the fact of naming it an agreement or calling it an agreement rather than a contract. And then identifying it as marked as Exhibit A.
So moved. I like it.
All right. Open projects. Did you guys see anything that you wanted to remove? Because I couldn't see anything that I wanted to remove from that. And I'll probably end up going to the administration as well for looking at things to take off, just so we can cover that base.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to take off. You want to talk about it tonight, or?
I think I'd rather take it to the administration first and
Okay.
then come back to it,
Okay, sounds good.
just so that we have that covered. Do I have any more public participation for economic development? Seeing none, I will adjourn at 8:13 PM.
Finance Committee, January 18th, 2024.
All right, we convened at 6 PM and we paused at 6:18 PM. It's now 8:14 PM. And we're reconvening finance. So after Service Committee had the portion of the runway lights, they did not request legislation, so we need to request legislation approving them going out to bid for the two projects. One was the rehabilitation of the runway 4-20 or 4/22 lighting at a proposed cost of $55,000. I must note that of that, we are only responsible for 5%, which is $2,750. And then the other one is rehabilitate runway lighting, so that was design, and then the construction itself of the same runway at a proposed cost of $750,000. Our local 5% responsibility is $37,500. So we need legislation requesting that, and do we know, is that included 10%? Do we need to
I'm
include 10%?
pretty sure the design's already done. Yeah.
Okay, so we just need it for the construction to go out to bid. And I understand this does not need to be emergency because they don't want to do that until March?
It's like March, April, they want to send it out, and then like a May, June.
Okay, so we just need regular legislation requesting them to go out to bid for a cost not to exceed $37,500 for construction.
Our share.
Right, with our
Total.
share being 5%.
Our total share 700, or no, the total project was
$750,000.
750,000, I looked at the top line. You took it away from me before I could finish.
But it's already in the budget.
But it's already in the budget.
So do we not need legislation?
We do need
Oh,
legislation.
I got you.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Authorizing them to go out to bid.
Authorizing them to go out to bid at a total project cost of $750,000 with our cost at $37,500. That's where that number came from.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
I have a first by Mr. Me and a second by Ms. Dishon. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. That motion carries. All right, next, the Crawford Partnership. The Economic Development Committee requested legislation, so I believe we just need a voice vote saying that we are okay with that. That money's already in the budget for this year, so I would entertain a motion just approving what came out of economic development.
I make a motion to approve it?
Second. I have a motion by Mr. Mauritz and a second by Mr. Me. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? All right. Open projects. So I already gave this list to the administration, and we've got several pages of stuff from Finance Committee and what they went through. So everything on the first page, there's nothing that they want to keep. On the second page, the date of 2/6/18 water line expansion outside of the city, that one should remain. On your third page, withholding of the Bratwurst fee remains, sewer rates remain, budget and income tax remains, Neff Reservoir remains, and that's it on that page. The next page, revocation of out-of-town tax credit remains. And on the final page, the 2024 budget, and then the OPWC appropriations, which is the last one, remains. Everything else comes off. Do I have any discussion from committee members?
Now, you said the OPWC appropriations remains?
Yes. It was just referred January 2nd of 2024. Says it was referred again.
That was,
But that was passed on
Re-referred.
January the
yeah,
16th,
it was
wasn't it?
referred to fix.
Okay. So I will take that back and say that.
Through
comes off.
ordinance 60 dash.
Yep.
Well, now that was ordinance 60, ordinance 60-2023, which, we didn't pass until
Okay.
2024, but
All right. So everything else comes off.
Okay.
Any comments, Ms. Dishon?
No.
Any complaints or things that I missed?
Do I complain?
No, I'm asking if you have any before I move along the line here.
No, not right now.
Mr. Me,
Yes, sir.
any,
We're good.
okay, Mr. Mauritz? All
I'm fine with it.
right, I will submit that list to the clerk so that she can update that list, and then anything else that comes up, we will refer. With that said, the conversation on the revocation of the credit for out-of-town taxes has come up. We had a meeting with the income tax office, the auditor's office, and the mayor's office, and the council president and I were present for this. You know, one of the things that's a difficult topic that we have to discuss, but we talked about this last year when we asked for a levy for the public safety. forces. And one of the things that I remember that I stated, and many of us stated, was we didn't want to revoke that credit at that time. We felt like we were going to see how that was doing. But the auditor then has supplied us with some additional information. The income tax office has supplied us with some different information. And one of the things that we look at, and Mr. President, if you want at any time come up to the podium and share your input, since you kind of were in on this, please do. The graph that we're looking at, and I guess I can turn this over to the auditor and kind of let you explain what that graph essentially says and how you came to those numbers.
Yeah, I kind of went over this on my report on Tuesday, but what is happening is basically comparing 2019 to today. We have about 1.1 million less on average than we had in 2019 in cash on hand. And when we passed just referencing some other numbers, even when we passed the Safety Forces levy, if you look at our other funds, yes, the Safety Forces levy money did increase, but overall in the general fund and with our street levy, we actually still lost money. So those numbers go up because of the Safety Forces levy. Still overall, we lost money for the other funds. And even if you look at the chart, sorry, I know you guys don't have it in front of you, but for those in the back, if you can see, we started collecting money for the Safety Forces levy in about August, right? And you can see cash on hand in August, we still fell, even though we were collecting that money. And it may not necessarily be just an income tax thing. It could also be part of, maybe water rates or something like that as well that we want to address in the future. We're just not bringing in the amount of money to sustain our infrastructure and staffing levels that we currently have.
So in other words, what's going to happen if we choose to do nothing and just keep sitting back and waiting?
If we choose to do nothing, we will run out of money and we will go into fiscal emergency.
Yeah, that's a bad thing, right?
It's not a good look for the city, no.
So, one of the things that the previous administration did and the current administration is continuing to do is looking at ways to save money in places. And I think a good job has been done with that over the last several years. We've reduced a lot of the positions in the city, eliminated a lot of the expenditures. And we're really looking at mainly what's happening in the general fund with this, not so much the enterprise funds.
Yes.
So the people like your snow plow drivers and garbage truck drivers and water guys, that's not even really part of this discussion, right?
No,
we're really looking
not
at
right
safety
now.
forces, which I remember you said was what, 82% of our expenses out of the general fund was.
I don't have that in
something
front
in
of me,
that
but
realm.
yes.
80-some% was going towards paying salaries in those. And the problems we're faced with are really simple. We were lambasted by someone that said that we gave too big of a raise. Well, you have to keep up with the cost of living, the cost of inflation, and if we don't pay our employees, what's a fair wage and what they're able to get at a comparable sized city. We're not trying to keep up with Cleveland and Columbus and Cincinnati, but we are trying to keep up with your Galleons and maybe even your Marions and Mansfields, but we're not keeping up with them. What happens is these employees then leave. So now we're paying to hire new employees, to put on more tests, to re-equip them with their equipment, to put them through additional training. It's the money you're saving by bringing in a lower level, entry level employee, we're spending just as much on all their equipment and everything. So we're no better off, and then we're left with all these employees in our two most important departments as far as it relates to our safety and health and welfare that aren't properly trained and equipped to do the job. And so, the people say, well, just freeze their wages. Yeah, that'd be great if we could. But we're in a position where I feel like we've given these people close to what I think they deserve, in that realm. So where does that put us? We look at talking about the out-of-town workers that are given credit. Ms. Schimpf, I don't know if you want to kind of talk a little bit about what our current state is, how we do that, so that people understand where we're at.
Up until this year, we've given 100% credit. I know back in 12 and 13, we did reduce that 0.25%, but then we passed a safety forces levy, which then put the credit back to 100%. This year, with the passage of the new safety forces levy, the credit is capped at 2%. With the levy being passed half a year, we can only tax 0.125 for the 2023 year. We can't tax that full quarter because it was passed in July. So we're not going to see the full quarter percent until next tax season, which is 2025.
But as the auditor alluded to, if we do nothing, by that time, we're out of money.
Right.
So, I'm one of the ones that spoke the loudest on this, that I didn't feel like we needed to look at reducing that credit. But when I see this information, I'm forced to think otherwise. And I hate it. I don't want people to think that we're sitting up here just willy-nilly making decisions. This is something that we've spent many hours meeting about, many hours looking at the numbers and the statistics. And this isn't an easy job. And quite honestly, it kind of sucks sometimes that we have to sit here and look at all this stuff and try to figure it out. But that's where we're at. And so, do you guys have anything to add to it at this point?
No, I just want to interject. Sorry. I just want to interject. The next thing that's coming down the pipeline is that we went through the fire levy or the fire union, and then we've done the police, and now what's coming next is the AFSCME union, and that's the third leg of our safety forces, is the way I look at it. Is the AFSCME union, they're the ones that are out there taking care of the sewers, making sure that the sewers are working, making sure you guys got adequate water, as well as making sure that the streets are clean every day of the year. So you just have to keep in mind that all that's coming. I mean, we got the water filtration plant, we got the sewer treatment plant, and these are all vital things. And so we have to reflect and make sure that they get their fair share. We want to make sure that everybody's treated fairly. And so you just have to keep that in mind, that, wages do go up. And so it's a hard thing for us to do. Coming in, it's hard. I mean, I ain't doing it because I wanted to be a popularity contest. I think everybody here, they're all worried about the best for Bucyrus.
Fankhauser, 616 Prospect. I've looked at all the scenarios, tax. Somebody said, "Well, why don't you run another levy? Why go after the out of town credit?" The reality of the time frame we have to run a levy, we have already missed the spring primary deadline to put a levy on the ballot. And that deadline was in December. So you would be looking for a levy situation, you would be looking at November, and unless you wanted to run a special levy, which we don't have the money to pay for, a November 2024 levy probably taking effect January 2025, you wouldn't realize the full revenue from a levy that went into effect in January 2025 until April 2026. So, knowing that, seeing where we're heading with the cash on hand, we're definitely going to be, we don't have the luxury of time. And the out-of-town credit, as unpopular as that is, it's essentially the only option we have at this point to make corrective action before we do go into red. Because I personally, I do not want to see the city go in the red. I do not want, potential reduction in city services if we go into fiscal emergency. I don't understand what the state auditor comes in. Do they say you're going to start cutting manpower in these departments? And, the other thing with that is all the negative publicity. It's going to be all over the news. Bucyrus, Ohio is in the red. They're in fiscal emergency. What does that do for businesses, people that are looking to come to our town, and they say, well, I'm not going to go to Bucyrus. They're heading down and, they can't even pay their bills. What's going to happen there? So, the out-of-town credit, like I said, as unpopular as it is, the longer you wait to do something, like I brung this up, the auditor sent that letter out at the beginning when we first came into office. It's kind of been known for a month or two-ish that the last council didn't really want to, and I don't blame them, they were going to be out of office real soon, so it kind of got pushed to us, but where was I going with this?
Kurt, if I could interrupt you while you're collecting your thought on that, I'm one of the ones that sat here and didn't want to do anything initially with it. Number one, I don't think we realized exactly how bad it was. And number two, we did make the promise to the voters that we wouldn't go chasing after that money until we knew that it was something. And I will tell you that I sat here and said those things. And I still don't want to go after that money, but unfortunately,
now here's
I think
a scenario
that's where we're at.
you could do. This is a scenario you could rescind the credit now, and then later in the year, if things start looking good, you could later in the year.
Yeah, it's always something, because we've done that in the past. We've gone back and forth.
I mean, that's the only thing that credit is the only thing that council can do, that it has the power to do without running a levy. Like I said, the time frame for a levy to take effect, when you look at the graphs, it's been trending in the wrong direction for a while.
Yeah.
And the scary part is, it's one thing to be trending in the wrong direction when, you have a normal budget. The last 4 years, we've had a budget that we have thrown ARPA money into the budget.
$1.6 million.
To pay for some wages and some things. So if you start thinking, we're heading in the wrong direction, even with all that extra grant money thrown in there, and it's still heading in the wrong direction. It would be a problem if it was a flat graph, and that was the scenario that, yeah, we threw money in the budget and it's all flat, but knowing that money is gone as of last month, essentially, you would have to make corrective action there. So we actually, it's kind of double scary if you think about it. We're heading in the wrong direction, even with all this grant money that was thrown into it. So in my personal belief, after looking at all this and knowing, I kind of believe that I'm kind of financially savvy myself. If you have no other option right now than to rescind that 2% as soon as you can. The longer you wait to do it, the harder the pains are going to be. The theory is today, if the 2% is rescinded, it might stave off having to do another levy.
Right.
That's the theory. If you wait till the end of this year, you're probably, to do the 2% rescinding, you're probably going to have to do the 2% anyway, plus you're going to have to probably run a levy.
Correct.
So.
And you remember the number that was shared in that meeting, Kurt, that was for every month that we wait to, because I was of the mindset I wanted to wait and see what the levy did officially bring in after tax season, but what was the dollar amount I think that we came to for every month we wait? It's how much?
It's really hard to guess what the percentage is, because it's essentially based upon each individual filer's tax return that works out of town and what town they're in and what percentage that is and how much the credit is. And you can't put a definite number on it. The best thing you can do is make an educated guess. But I kind of feel like 1 to 200,000 a month.
Yeah.
Every month that you delay rescinding that 2% is probably 1 or 200,000 in revenue that the city will lose out on. I mean, does that kind of sound like it might be?
Like you said, it's a hard number to pin down because of the different tax
That
rates.
crystal ball everybody's looking for, and nobody's found it yet.
You know, that graph, as of January 1, police got 20%, or, well, whatever raise they got is essentially going to cost this year another 200,000. That's just going to accelerate this downward trend even more.
And the other thing that to note is, this is nobody's, we're not pinning this just on out-of-town workers. We lost about $500,000 from 2 factories that have closed up recently, and then we have another large employer that has taken a large majority of their workforce and shifted them to work from home. So we've lost a lot of revenue opportunities that's compounded this.
And so the cash on hand being where it's at, there's no room for error. As we're operating where we're at now, she's actually having to go to the banks and push money around in accounts just for the city to make payroll at this point, which is kind of a scary thought.
Yeah.
So if we had an unexpected expense come up this year, I mean, where's the money? There's nothing. It's just like your personal checking account. If you ran a normal average balance of $1,000 year after year, and you're paying your bills, and then all of a sudden your balance is down to $250, and then next thing you know, your refrigerator goes out. You don't have enough money to absorb that, an unexpected thing. And I can just give what I see with the numbers, and Kelly can confirm or deny it, but I mean, it sounds like, is it in your opinion that if we don't do something that it's going to get ugly with the finances?
Absolutely. Like Mr. Myers had said, it was unforeseen that the COVID work from home was going to hit us as hard as it did. First, we had to give out refunds to those employees that went from working here in town to working at home because they were no longer working in town. So we had to refund all that tax dollars the last 2 years. And now they're permanently at home, so we're not getting any of that money.
So I was told, like Ohio Mutual, all them workers working from home, we're no longer getting income tax from.
So that's something that we weren't prepared for. Rescinding any credit, you're still not going to see anything until tax filing of your 2024.
Well, yeah, so if they rescinded the credit now, some employers may initially start their payroll withholdings. Some employers don't. The ones that don't, it doesn't catch up to them until the next tax filing season, which, if you did the credit now, you're talking April 2025 before you realize the full benefit from having rescinded the credit. So these changes aren't ever immediate. It's gradual before the taking of full effect is. And I just, I feel like now is we do have a window where we can hopefully stay out of the red. And if you keep waiting around, definitely by the end of this year, by the time it actually is fully going towards the red and you try to correct it, you're going to be in the red for years trying to get out.
Yep.
And
I agree.
I don't want to see us have to deal with making decisions on cutting city services. That's not something that I ever want to even think about. So that's enough.
And Mrs. Shireman alluded to this earlier, and did you still want to speak? Head on up there, and I'm going to comment. What you said earlier, you're asking the citizens to just trust us and be patient with us. We are doing the best we can to be good stewards with your all's money. We really are. Go ahead.
Kaylee, as the auditor, I'm not the smartest one in this room, so go slow. Where did the money go? Where was the money spent that, that was there to where, as the new administration and the new council comes in, we have to face all the unpleasantry from the citizens for, I don't know where the money went. The people, where'd the money go? Why don't we have money? Was it spent foolishly? What, in the last administration? Was it, certainly we should have had more money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I understand we lost the income, you know, but that's not, I just don't buy all of that.
We lost $500,000 in income, and then plus we're paying more in wages, so those two things are making us further apart.
But we still shouldn't be like we are right now.
We'd be in much worse shape without that $1.6 million of the federal money we got. I mean, we bought 2 new ambulances, I think 4 police cars, and we paid about $400,000 of that went to wages and salaries.
Do you have a itemized printout of where every dime went, say in the last 12 years, compared to today?
When you say every dime spent, do you mean like everything that was purchased or every purchase order?
Everything that the city brought in to every dime that the city paid out?
I don't know if I can find anything like that, a report. I will try.
You mean like when we do budgets at home, we know where the money went. Most of us save receipts and we combined them too, like doing a checkbook. Do you guys do that here? That shows where did the money go?
We do. We keep those, the physical copies of the invoices for 3 years, and then we're able to dispose of them. So we could go back 3 years and look at all the things we've paid out besides payroll. They're their own separate thing. So, but we do have report books on payroll. So for 3 years, we could go back and pull all those things. But if you want like a more just...
more itemized.
More itemized? Yeah, you could go through bill by bill that way.
Penny to penny.
Yeah, we could go through, if you want to take the time, it might be a lot of money to make copies of everything. But if you wanted to go...
Well, I mean, you could go through it all and you could form a paper for all of us that we could, I mean, I don't know where the money went. I don't even know what we had.
Yeah, so the problem is I would just take a lot of time. But if I can find a report, I'm more than happy to find something that's a specific.
And that way, if the people wanted to come up here and say, hey, where did money go? You can show them to help them not be so hard on us, because trust me, people, we didn't want this either. This was laid in our lap.
Yeah.
And this is not what I asked for votes for. So,
yeah,
you know, I'm sure some of us feel like we've, you know.
Yeah. And
I feel like I've let them down, you know, for their votes, because we're hitting them with everything right now.
Yeah. And just to your point a little bit more, like I said, this goes, because this is cash on hand for everything as well. Just pieces. So back in the day, I worked at a hardware store, right? And I remember the first time I sat down and we were going over the itemized list and getting quotes from people. I could not believe the price of like PVC and you know, galvanized pipe, and how those prices have increased in the last 5 years. So I mean, just since COVID, things have went up astronomically, and that's just in physical parts and pieces, the little things for different large projects that cost millions of dollars. And then we also have, just like I mentioned in my report Tuesday, our insurance, just to keep the same kind of insurance coverage for the city, it went up $200,000. So that's on top of what it already cost.
But I mean, like the internet and everything else that you guys pay for to have here, How does that compare to 2 years ago?
Yeah.
The differences in that, you
There's
know?
probably not a single thing that has been reduced in cost, I'd imagine, unfortunately.
Well, I would leave that to the auditor, who has a better understanding of the numbers than you or I.
And I'm more than happy to try to
And I don't mean
get
that
that.
disrespectful.
No, you've
to
asked her
you.
for that, and I think she's gonna do her
Yeah,
best to get it for you.
I
I was
just
just more
mean-
speculating in general, like you and I both take care of our bills at our house, and we know that everything has gone up. That's just
Yeah, I mean,
the
if my
sad world we
checkbook's a
live in.
penny off, I'm back through there to
Yeah.
figure out where
And
that.
another
money
thing
went.
is that, the tax collection system that the state has provided us with the guidelines for, a lot of it's unfair. But when you look at the RITA website, over half of the communities in Ohio do not give any credit for out of town. So it's
Oh,
not
I
like we're
think
the
I-
only ones talking about
I
it.
think I want to break the ice here, because this is just mind-boggling to me. I want to break the ice and kind of put a smile on everybody's face right now. I think we should deduct your pay, Mr. Lambert. I'm only kidding.
He was almost ready to go for it till you told him it was a joke.
Yeah, well, see, can we all laugh at that? Thank you for listening to me, though.
Right that off, 210 Ethel Street. Carolyn, I gotta tell you, what happened in the past is in the past. Where it got spent, the word spent, it's spent. There's nothing we can do about it.
Right,
Let's
but
think
the-
about the future right here. That being said, I'm an out-of-town employee. I think you all know that from the past. I've been up here a few times. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I was kind of curious. I was going to ask during a regular council meeting. Been sitting here for a long time tonight. My mouth's dry. But I was kind of curious, voting council members, out of all of you, who may be retired, who doesn't pay city income tax, and if you don't, how can you, with a clear conscience, vote to make me pay 2 different cities? There's 1,700 people in this city. They're going to be paying twice, 2 different cities. And the past administration used to say, well, you're not paying your share, you're not paying your share. Well, if you shop in Mansfield, if you go to Columbus, you don't pay your share there. You go to Mansfield, you go to Columbus, I pay Mansfield. Don't come to Mansfield if you're not going to pay Mansfield. That's basically what he was saying. So I pay my share, and I don't think it's fair to make me pay twice. We got to find money from somewhere. Aaron Sharrock pointed out about sidewalks, how it'd be like poking at somebody that can't afford to pay for a sidewalk. Well, I'm saying I can't afford to pay 2 different cities. So if you're going to do what you're going to do, nothing I can do about it except come up here and give you heck.
Yeah. And that's what we're paid to do, is to listen to you and to try to figure it out.
You're going to do what's best for the city, but that being said,
To answer your question, and no one else, I'm going to answer. I'm 70, I'm on Social Security, I'm married, we live separate, so I don't lose my benefits, and my benefits ain't added on to his. But Jim pays city taxes. But I understand what you're saying too. And the government put us in the spot that we're in now. I kind of like not living together, but, you know.
I know it's going to be hard it's going to be hard for you to vote to make me pay twice when you're not paying anything.
Right,
And to
well,
me-
I'm older than you for one, so.
Right, well, I'm going
But Jim is
to be in
paying
your spot too, pretty
a
soon.
long way. But Jim lives in town, and
That's
he works at Ivy Tech.
So he's going to be paying twice? No, he's working in town.
Yeah, he works at, so he's paying, but, we don't live in town unless you find me a house out in the country and
Well-
I've got a lot of rooms, I'll move.
I'm just saying, I'm going to be paying twice as much.
I
so-
understand it, I understand you. That's what bothers me.
Aaron Sharrock, 1485 Oak Ridge Drive. I was here. I was here when we were told, if we pass this levy, we're not going after this. I was here when we promised people we wouldn't. I was here when the administration changed it from being a 0.5% to a 1/4% at the last minute, having it put in the legislation that that's all we need. I was here when they denied us the right to go for a levy specifically for property taxes, but for equipment on property tax. And that was supposed to be a $250,000. They denied us that. I'm not able in my heart to look at anybody and say, I lied to you. Okay? The past administration, they helped put us here. They did a whole lot on changing things and making sure the money was gone. And there's nothing we can do about that. Like was said before, what's gone is gone. But I cannot look at you and say that I would step back on that tax credit unless you've got an end game. You tell me we're going to have these 2 levies in November, and if they pass, we bring the full tax credit back within 1 year, because yes, I understand it takes it a minute to step in, but there's no way that you're going to get a yes vote from me at all unless you can tell me how you're going to right the wrong, because right now we're wronging our community. I mean, it was a full-out lie. It was a lie to all of us. Kevin and I were both here. We both got thrown under the bus. We were lied to. We got to figure out how we're going to, if we have to step anywhere, how do we right that? How do we fix that? And what do we do? And what can we say is going to happen and it doesn't get messed up again? Just saying.
Thanks, Aaron. I don't disagree with you. You know, my only comment to what you said, Aaron, was that I don't know that we can have a short end game like that. We've learned that with looking at, we don't know what's coming in yet, truly, to see where we're at. It should be well known that at any time, you know, there was a time where we didn't give a credit, and then when the times were good, we did give a credit. And so when the times get good again, we can give another credit. You know, that's the cat and mouse game of it, of the finances. But it sucks. I hate it.
Greg White, 1125 Hillcrest Drive. Many of you know that I have been to former council meetings and brought up that when they did the tax, I said it wasn't enough. You know, I've been to former council meetings to say, hey, it's time to look, the pots are going down. The auditor has made that known for the past 8 months, and I applaud her for being honest. Kelly's right. You're not going to see any money until 2026. There's no way. So what I'm suggesting is that this committee have an open forum discussion with residents of the city. Okay? Let them come up with some kind of game plan. How much would a levy cost just for the equipment, police and fire trucks? Because it was in some of the minutes that by the former mayor that a new ladder truck was going to cost $1.5 million. A new ambulance that they wanted, medic unit that they wanted was $365,000. Another engine that they want to replace because the other truck is getting old because they didn't want to send it to a rehab facility. For half the money that they paid for the new truck, they could have had 2 trucks rehabbed and meet NFPA code. And if anybody wants a dicker, I'll pull the code out. Okay? So the thing is, he's right. You can't go back after what is already done. We have to look to the future. What the future is what the residents will tolerate. Okay? You're going to put on a new sewer tax. Okay? It's going to cost me $120 more a year. The first year at the 15%. It's not going to cost me $2.33, trust me. Okay? Because it's going to cost me $117 for the whole year as a usage 8. Okay? So other people in that same ballpark, theirs is going to be higher and higher too. Okay? So what I'm suggesting is this committee put in open forum public meetings, not just one, but several. Let's sit down and let the people come in and say, what can we tolerate? Can we tolerate another property tax for the police department, the fire department, the equipment? Or, because, to me, I don't think you should lump them all together. I don't think it's fair. They're two separate entities of public safety forces. One's going to be spending more money than the other. But it should be done fair and equal, that we could only buy one new police cruiser. And the other ones are getting up to, as the chief said, 80, 70,000 miles on these things. You know, in another year, they're going to be done. So where are we going to find the money for those? I will bring back up, and I hate doing this to you, Kelly, all the time, that 506, and I know it's growing, that was never put in the budget for the buyouts of police and firefighters. Now, I understand you don't know if anybody's going to bail this year, okay? But if they do, some of those guys have a nice hefty pot of over $120,000, $135,000 buyout, okay? And the former council said, we'll let the new council deal with it, and then it was stated by one of the council people that that's the auditor's job to figure this out. I think that was totally unfair. Okay, it was a derogatory comment. So that's what I'm suggesting to this committee. Let's have some open public discussion. Let's allow people of the community to come in and say, because you're going to raise their sewer taxes, you're probably going to raise the water taxes this year sometime too. The water rate.
Neither is the tax, it's a sewer rate.
Right, the rate will probably get increased again. So, you know, this is money, and I understand Aaron's point of view about the sidewalk and stuff like that, but that's another story we're going to discuss later. But what I'm saying is, let people come in and voice their concern. You got to remember too, I also come to council and told you that out of the 12,000 people that live in the city of Bucyrus, okay, 3,300 of them are over the age of 55. Correct. Okay, and that's by the Census Bureau. Now the other 2/3, if you look at it, there's over 2,500 people in the city are the age of 0 to 18. They don't pay taxes, or some of them do because maybe they kids work at school, but majority of them do not pay taxes. So you're only looking at the middle portion. You're looking at a third of the population that's paying taxes, okay, to the point where they're working. And I understand the out of town. You guys made an agreement, that's going to be a tough decision. But like I said, open it up, let people come in and say their spiel, and then go from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. I'm going to say to Mr. White's suggestion of an open forum, that's what every one of our meetings is, and this is a representative form of government where we represent the people. They have the ability to reach out and contact us at any time, so it's not like we're not listening to people. So what I have to ask of this committee is, what do you want to do?
Well, I have a comment. I was beside myself this morning when I read the Crawford County Now article, which I realized came out yesterday at 10:19 a.m., when it talks about the city's, you know, financials and what have you, and it says, in light of these findings, the Finance Committee will explore potential solutions at the Thursday meeting. One of the measures to be discussed is the complete repeal of out-of-town tax credits to alleviate the financial strain. At no time, I don't recall that having been mentioned at Tuesday's meeting.
We can't control what they write. Their main goal is to get you to click on stuff on their website, so they're going to write stuff to create controversy. Looks like that's what they did there.
But, I mean, this information was given to them, correct? I'm not going to throw you under the bus, Kurt, but did you?
It's already an open project. It's been on your project.
I know, but, I mean, I'm a member of the Finance Committee, and to read this, I'm thinking, there was nothing said that Finance was going to discuss this.
Well, it was discussed in a meeting earlier the week where you declined
Now, what meeting was that? Yeah, and I get a phone call at what? How many hours before? Okay.
Splitting hairs at that point.
No pun intended.
I didn't think about that. I don't know
Okay.
very many hair jokes.
I feel that every time the city is in a financial crunch, we're always going back to the out-of-town tax credit. And I know, Mr. Myers, you made the comment that, the wage increases, given to the police, the fire, and then we're going to be looking here at AFSCME. I mean, they deserve, as you indicated, to be paid for their work. But then I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so these people who are getting paid because they deserve to be paid for their work, in order to do that, we're going to turn around and go after the out-of-town workers. These out-of-town workers who are going out of town to find jobs that pay what they're worth, that they're not finding, here. I totally agree with everything Ms. Sharrock said. And again, I'm a researcher. I have to see it on paper. I need to see the figures, How much are we gonna generate if we get rid of this out-of-town tax credit? I'm sitting here thinking, my goodness, I just approved spending $100,000 in the next 2 years to the Crawford Partnership. Yes, to bring in jobs, but has that been happening?
Well, what Mr. Fankhauser said, if I could interrupt, Mr. Fankhauser even said.
Okay, wait a minute.
Or Mr. Zach, sorry, $71.4 thousand a year of income that has been attributed just to Bucyrus from the jobs they've created.
Okay.
So that was $714,000 over the 10-year period is what the projection was. That was numbers he gave us in that report Tuesday night. So we're spending 50 to get
25,000.
We spend 50 a year, and we get back 71.4 thousand in taxable. It was municipal income tax is what it was. MIT is how we worded it. So we're getting 71,000 currently on year number 1 of the 10-year projected. So we're getting our money's worth on that 50,000.
So right now, we're making 21,000 off of that.
Yeah, and it's projected to keep going up. Ray, I'll get to you in just a second.
You're only making 25,000 off a $50,000 investment. That's not even half of what you're paying.
But that's the start.
To bring in jobs.
But we can't do that ourselves in-house for under 150,000.
I understand that. But when you have 3 properties sitting that you can't bring in some kind of business that doesn't need the maximum wastewater, or we have the public water, but we don't have the wastewater yet. But that's a new point because that's been a problem for 5-6 years now in this community. Okay, it just didn't erupt last year. It's been going on for many years. And the former council members said the same thing. They've had the problem for the last 5 years, 4 or 5 years.
Tonight's the first time I heard anyone talking about jobs, and that was Mr. Myers.
So the thing is,
If you look at this chart, that the money that we're losing, and the jobs that we're losing, the population that we're losing, it's all following the same thing. And
that's
no one's
why
concentrating on good quality manufacturing jobs.
And that's why we talked about that in the sewer meeting that we had with Arcadis. We're looking at ways to,
That made me think.
we could either spend, 46 million, or we could spend 54 million, or whatever those, spend a little bit more, and then have the potential to bring a couple hundred jobs
But
to
these
town.
fast food jobs, working at pizza shops, that's where you're getting your 20,000 or whatever.
Correct. We can do better, and we need to put the tools in place to give us the ability to do better.
Right.
That's what we're
Nothing
trying to do.
replaced GE, nothing replaced Baja Boats, nothing replaced Swan Rubber. I could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
Nothing's replacing these jobs. That's why we're losing people. That's why we're losing all this tax revenue. Is anyone thinking about these high school kids that get out of school that are looking for jobs, they find one in Mansfield, you think they're gonna wanna stay in Bucyrus if they're gonna have to pay income tax in both
And
places?
that's one of the things that Mr. Zach said too, that they've got a program that they're working with the local schools to get the kids to stay here.
I'm
So
rooted here. I want to get out of Bucyrus because of this tax thing, but I'm too old for that. I mean, to be honest. These young kids, they find a job out of town, they're gone.
Yeah.
And then there goes that
Well, the
population.
1,700 of you that work out of town, why do you work out of town? It's because there's not a job here that pays the money you can get going elsewhere.
Every
That's
morning
why
I
we gotta
go
do
down,
better.
every morning I get on Route 30, it's a steady stream of cars.
Yeah. That's why we have to do better and do everything we can to bring those jobs here.
Are you one of them? So I pass the same people every morning.
But to your point, none of you are leaving town to work just because you don't want to
Yeah,
work
I don't
here.
like driving every morning and
who
coming back.
would? Who
We
would?
got to spend more of our energy, more of our time getting some jobs here.
I can tell you that the partnership is doing a lights out job. They're working with the administration. There's a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes, and some of it we aren't even allowed to know about until after the fact. But they're busting their tail to try to bring more jobs here. And David Zach has been a godsend to this community, and I'm asking you just, again, what Carolyn said earlier, have a little bit of faith and a little bit of patience in us that we're doing some good stuff.
I've told someone already at city council, the whole feeling of this city council, you can feel it. It's a different, it gives off a different vibe. I can feel it. All the faith in the world in our new administration, our new mayor, all of you guys. So keep it up. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate hearing that. Absolutely, Carolyn. I'm getting paid to listen to you right now.
One day you'll get tired of me.
We're done, what, 2 cents an hour?
I want to say, Vicki, if I'm reading you right, it's like the only thing that we have to fall back on to make money to get us out of this mess is always the out-of-town tax credit. It's like, if he needs paid extra money or Wagner needs paid extra money, let's take it from the people that work out of town that gets that tax credit. Let's take that from them. And like he said, what are they going to do? They're stuck. They're stuck. My point is, we should not be in this position in the first place if things were done right last administration.
But we're left here to fix it right now. Ken?
I just want to commend everybody here, especially Mr. Myers. You've got a real good handle on what's going on. The one thing that I learned just tonight was, you forget about businesses going out of town. Because it's real easy to see where we got issues with fire, police. Those are high ticket items. We need them. What can you do? And just like all the rest of the employees here too. But when you have your public forum, I would definitely be prepared to give them the last 5 years worth of what's happened, hard money, just COVID, prices are going up a third, everything we touch is a third higher now. And I know you're looking at, water rate increases, you probably have to. Do I want to pay more? No. Okay, but the reality is we probably do have to do that stuff. But I think the key is the communication part of it, because everybody's going to come here mad. We want to pay less money. That's going to you're going to fill the room. But I think it'll cool their jets off at least somewhat if they see something in print that here's what's happened and here's what we're trying to do and all this. It won't make it perfect, but at least it'll take the heat off.
And that's the job that we all signed up for, is to take the heat. This is not an easy job.
No, I agree.
I'd like to make a comment.
I didn't sign up to take the heat.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Reducing a credit is not something that I enjoy either. My office is an office of 2 people, and we actively pursue non-filing and non-payers. Right now, I've submitted since 2019, $1,379,192 to the Attorney General's collection agency. Of that, we have collected only $334.97, which puts us...
$334?
No,
Or $334,000?
$334,097. So they still have a balance of $1,000,000 $45,000 at the collection agency. It's not that we want to punish you for reducing that credit. That is a last resort, in my eyes. I don't like having to tell people they owe us money. But like I said, we do actively pursue the non-filing and the non-paying, and I just wanted to put that out there.
Absolutely.
Laura Rowe, 1116 Hillcrest Drive. I'm an out-of-town worker. So what about annexing? There was a lot of talk about annexing those businesses in. Has anyone looked into that, or did it just get dropped?
It's been talked about a lot for a long time with no action taken, and I think that this council has the mentality that we're going to try to push ahead with that as much as we can. And I think the law director might have a little bit more to say about it, maybe not, but I know that's something that we all kind of have an interest in
Because
pursuing.
you're saying everything's been done, but everything hasn't been done, because that hasn't.
Well, we've done several annexations, with like the Aldi property and things like that, but yeah, there's a lot more that could and should be done.
So that needs to be looked at, because you haven't done everything. You keep saying, you've done everything, but it doesn't look like you have.
Well, again,
And
because
if-
go ahead, I'm sorry.
When they come in, and if you give them a paper, is that going to be on there? This is, we're gonna be in the red, here's an option, but we've done everything, but here's an option that we haven't looked fully into.
And that's one of those things that's gonna take, again, more time for us to realize that revenue. It won't happen immediately, which again.
No, and from sitting back there listening to everything tonight, the past administration and however many before clearly was not running the city correctly, financially. Now, other people are going to have to pay for it who are paying more to drive for gas, more to put food on the table. My refrigerator went out Saturday, had to get a refrigerator, had to figure that out. I couldn't go back to my boss and say, hey, I've got this expenditure, I need more money. You can give them the paper and show them numbers, but all they're gonna know is you're taking money from them because other people have screwed up. And it's not gonna be pleasant, and by dropping it in the Crawford County Now, one sentence that there's gonna be a meeting or talked about, you have to be open with them. If you want them to be patient with you and to understand what's happening, it's a no-win situation for everybody all around. And the out-of-town workers, from what I understand, we're going to be the ones that are going to pay for it, for past mistakes. And it's not going to be pleasant. And unfortunately, if we go in the red and people look at Bucyrus as they're in the red, we don't want to move there. Well, I don't see a lot here for them to move here now. So then they're going to look at it and say, well, if I move there to raise my family in this town, I'm going to get double taxed because I work here. I don't see a good end to this.
There isn't one.
No. And I was here when we were told, if we pass the service safety, we're not going to go after you, but here we are. I was here back in 2000, I don't even know when they started, 2008, when this all started. I came forward. I was reluctant to come forward tonight because at that time, my husband and I got dragged through the mud for coming up and speaking. And here we are.
Well, let me say thank you for coming and speaking tonight. No dragging me through the mud. This is why we're here. We
So-
represent you.
Yeah, I don't see a good end to it. But I don't think giving them a piece of paper with a bunch of numbers, they're not going to they may see that, but they're still going to say, you're just taking it up from us. We're paying for somebody else's mistake.
That's where I made the comment that I believe our state tax system is flawed, because I hate the fact that you're getting dinged from two different places. I don't like it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jim?
You mentioned annexation. I've read a lot about it in the last month. There's only 5 ways to annex a property. Everybody has to agree. There's 3 parties. There'd be the city, the county, and the property owners. They all have to agree. Anybody appeals, it's a done deal. It does not happen. We have to get the homeowners to agree. There is one way, if the city owns the property, then we can annex it, but that doesn't do us any good.
What about if we run water to them?
We can't deny water, but there's some.
Water and another service other than water.
Other service.
So if they're getting sewer and water, then they can be made to.
Annex.
Kurt Fankhauser again. The annexation, the reason there's so many properties out by East Mansfield Street that aren't annexed is the city has one chance to record on their deed.
Yeah, deed restriction.
A deed restriction, and that is when a property requests service from the city. Before that service is hooked up, a deed restriction. So if some bank building goes in and they say, hey, we want a sanitary sewer hookup, according to our ordinance, you have to allow the city to record a deed restriction that says your property may not be contiguous now, because that's the other thing. Yeah, a property has to be contiguous to the city limits. But if it ever becomes contiguous, you automatically get annexed. Well, apparently over the years, a lot of properties were allowed to hook onto the sanitary sewer, and that ordinance was not being followed. We have lost our shot at them ever probably annexing because of that reason. Because once they have the sanitary sewer, you're not going to disconnect their sanitary sewer, because EPA is not going to let you disconnect their sanitary sewer. So, you know, this keeps being brought up all the time. Oh, let's just go out and annex all these places out there by Walmart. It's done. It's water under the bridge. It's not going to happen unless they voluntarily decide that, oh, for some reason I want to annex into the city. But I don't see that happening. And I do remember you guys coming in the past when this was brought up and discussed, and it might have even been like 10 years ago.
It was longer than that.
I agree with you. It's not fair. It's not fair. But at this point in time, the alternative is way worse if we go, you know, if something's not done now, down the road, you're probably going to lose the 2% anyway. In addition to, we're probably going to have to run property tax. So how, I mean, if we go so far in the red that we have to run more levies and stuff, it's going to be more painful than what is being proposed right now. And, you know, Vicki, I understand the thing with the Crawford County now. I proactively reached out to them because I wanted the public to know what was going to be discussed, because I wanted to get as many people here as possible to understand the situation, and we only drew in 2. So it's.
And do you know why those 2 are sitting there?
Did you
I
call
guess they're
them,
your
or-
neighbors.
I mean, I'm assuming they've seen it in the Crawford County now.
Yes.
So, I mean, yeah, it's said that, you maybe we should have a public hearing and stuff, but I know it was a short notice. It was only on in Crawford County Now for 24-ish hours, but
The transparency.
yeah, that's the whole reason I put it in there. I reached out to them. I wanted them to know that I wanted the general public to know this is what was being entertained here.
So why wasn't the council told this Tuesday night? This was in the Crawford County Now, Wednesday.
Yeah, the person that told me last night, I said, well, they didn't say that on Tuesday.
Exactly. That's what's upsetting to me. I mean, when I read this, and I'm like, my goodness, I'm a council representative, and I wasn't even
Vicki, we've been
told.
talking about the out-of-town tax credit, you and me, for 2 weeks. Don't act like you've never heard of it.
It wasn't.
All right, let's keep it civil, please. Vicki, the meeting that I went to with income tax and the auditor and the administration was yesterday. So that did happen. That meeting was put on after the Tuesday meeting, and that's why I brought it up tonight to further that discussion.
What meeting are we talking about?
Where I had mentioned that I went and sat down in the mayor's office with income tax and the auditor to go over this chart. Jim, anything else from you?
I think it's all been said.
Mr. Mauritz?
Does it have to be the whole thing? Can it be just half of it again, the other quarter?
All the
or-
options are there, but I think you're going to want to talk to the auditor and find out where those numbers and income tax, and find out what it's going to do.
Go back to the half like it was originally supposed to be, and not just a quarter. That might help something.
Yeah, pretty much the answer we got was, at this point, we're going.
And if we know that's the case, we should get started on a levy too, if we're going to raise it like another 0.5%, or part of a 0.25% or whatever, not do the whole thing. So I don't think the whole thing would be right to do. Even if I just can't see that.
We could just suspend it for 18 months. See what we're at.
That's another thing too. And if we do suspend it, we'd have to know that it's come down the road and get levies started to combat this, so we can get people their money back. But really take it away from them now.
I'm open to any and all suggestions, because the people that have reached out to me, I told them, I said, please tell me what your ideas are. Don't just send me an email and say, don't do this to me. I don't want to do it to you, but send me some, give me an idea. Point me in a direction of something we can do.
I'm with a lot of people out here. I think we need another meeting just about this and give people more time to fill them seats up and give their ideas. Hopefully they'll have ideas too, or say they're willing to do this for this if this happens. I don't think that's enough time. I didn't get to see that today.
Ms. Dishon, anything else from you?
Nope.
All right. Is there any other public participation for the Finance Committee this evening? It is 9:22 p.m. We're adjourned.